Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon. Actually, I won't be your friendly dungeon master this evening. I will once again be your friendly judge this evening because, you see, tonight we are continuing on. We had so much fun on Wednesday. We're continuing on playing TSR's old Marvel Superheroes role-playing game. This is a campaign that we're playing where it is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and our stalwart players are playing Marvel Cinematic Universe equivalents, or versions, I should say, of Canada's premier super team, Alpha Flight. And with me today playing the members of Alpha Flight are the stars of the Alpha Flight campaign. First up, I'll go the order I got you guys in the screen here. First up is Jeffrey.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff, and today I'm going to be playing Heather McNeil, the former girlfriend of James Hudson, who is MIA, possibly dead.
Yes, and in the as is always the case in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we are making sure we're casting nothing but the best of young Hollywood talent, and playing Heather McNeil in our campaign is the lovely and talented and charming Lauren Ambrose. Next up is Arlen.
Oh, I think Jeff wants to share
Highland Park,
what he's drinking.
12-year-old.
What are you drinking?
Highland Park, 12-year-old.
Very nice. Outstanding.
Brand new
Next up
box.
is Arlen.
I am Arlen Walker, and I'm playing Dr. Walter Lankowski, aka the Sasquatch, who is he's this one right here.
Yeah.
And I am drinking some mead that I brought back from the Czech Republic. That's pretty good. I don't know what the name is in Czech, so nobody's gonna know it. But anyway, it's pretty good.
Now, obviously, Sasquatch is going to be computer generated, but playing Dr. Walter Lankowski is the big, tough, and charming Kevin Durant. And last but certainly not least is Steve-O.
What's up? I am Steve-O, and I am playing, well, I don't think I'm playing one relatively dead Roger. Well, he's not dead, but he's...
Roger Box is... he is relegated to a chair. You will be playing him in part today, too, though. Roger Box, of course, is played by the very funny Tyler Labine in our campaign. But tonight, Steve's going to be taking on the role of a new character, actually. Someone who we have not... Actually, another new character. Another person we have not met yet. And let me just load up the image here. This will, of course, be the very cool Michael Two Youngman.
Michael Two Youngman, Shaman extraordinaire, cousin buddy of Doctor Strange.
Yes, he's the World Shaman, also known in the Marvel Universe as Shaman, more simply. And he is played by Gil Birmingham. Very talented dude from... I like him in particular in Wind River. Wind River, he's really fucking good. Okay, so, guys, but let's, as always, start with a bit of a prequel. So what we see is the camera opens on this sprawling kind of like college campus. And it's nighttime. It looks like there's very few people that are there. And then up in the sky, well, I guess first off, what we see as we see this big, like Ford, an old like 80s Ford Bronco kind of go driving past this sign. And the sign says University of Saskatchewan. And the in the white lettering, what we see is Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And the we see that this Bronco kind of go rumbling along. On the back, of course, because this is from Saskatchewan, we see the actually he's born in Vancouver. So what we see is a sticker that is the BC Lions, and the vehicle kind of continues on. Oh, my camera's being weird. Come on, you. There, I got to stop gesticulating so much. It's confusing my camera. So we see this vehicle kind of rumble along this one of the roads through campus, and then it pulls up in front of a building that is the Department of Physics. And what we can see as well too is that this entire area is illuminated by this eerie green light. The driver hops out of the vehicle, and we can see that this is... wrong thing. Here we go. It is Dr. Lankowski. So Kevin Durant steps out he's got a big, it's cold. We can tell that it is wintertime, snow, blankets most of the campus that isn't the exposed kind of exposed asphalt. And then above, the green shimmering is actually the Aurora Borealis, which is, it's unusual to have the Aurora Borealis that far south. But this seems to be an unusual night. As Dr. Lankowski gets out and he grabs his kind of from the back seat of his Bronco, grabs this satchel with looks like a laptop bag of some kind, tosses it over his shoulder, and he heads in. We cut to him making his way down the through the empty physics building. He gets to a point, looks like it's accessing a lab. He pulls some keys out. Maybe it's a pass card, actually. Gets a pass card and bleep, he makes his way in. Most of the lights are off at this point as well, too. And as he walks into this, we next cut to this lab, and it's full of all this high-tech equipment, and it's all very white, the way you would expect a lab to be. And there's lots of, kind of monitors that are moving with different kind of, things on them. And there's another character that's in here, too. We can tell sort of from the glasses and the, the University of Saskatchewan T-shirt on. This is probably a grad student of some kind. And the Dr. Lankowski walks in and he says, "All right, how are things looking?" And the grad student looks over and says, "Well, it's almost we're almost ready, but we don't have the data though. I mean, what's the data set that we're going to be working from?" And Dr. Lankowski gets a smile on his face and plunks down the laptop bag, zips it open, and pulls out this laptop. He walks it over, and he says, he doesn't say. He hooks it up himself, opens up the laptop, and we can see there's some kind of like, football screen thing in the background, or screenshot in the background. And his fingers kind of fly across the keyboard. And then the grad student who's sitting in front of a computer looks at the screen and says, "Whoa, where did you get this from?" And he says, "I'm not I thought you would know better than to ask about gift horses. Is that going to be sufficient?" And the grad student sort of studies it over, and he says, "Yeah, no, this should make for a safe procedure. But I mean, who are we going to use as a test subject?" And as he looks over, we can see that Lankowski is taking his, he's thrown his jacket down, taking his shirt off, and he's got a muscle shirt underneath there. And you see he's a pretty fucking big dude. Like, for a guy who looks like he is, who looks like it belongs at home in a lab, he now looks like he belongs, working, a swung axe in like a lumber mill or something. So he says, "Me." And the grad student says, "Whoa, I don't know if immediate human experimentation, has this been approved by the faculty?" And he says, "Look, just trust me." And he gets this grin that you can kind of see in that, whoopsies, wrong thing. In that picture that says, like, "We can do this. We're getting away with something, but we can do this." He makes his way over to this chair that sits kind of in the middle of the apparatus, and it looks kind of like a dental chair. There's some padding on it and whatnot, but there's also a bunch of straps, and there is a bunch of sitting around it. There's a bunch of kind of like high-tech looking like emitter type things. They're kind of like cones that are pointing in a direction. He says, "You're gonna have to help me here. Come on." And after over the span of the next like 5-10 minutes or so, we see Dr. Lankowski get himself strapped up into the chair, almost as if he was like, getting affixed into a high-tech version of an electric chair. He has a little bite guard thing that he puts in his mouth, the kind of thing you'd have for electroshock therapy. And the grad student looks at him like, "Are you sure you need that?" And he shrugs. He's like, "Better safe than sorry." Gets himself strapped in. By the end of it, he looks like someone, again, like who is being affixed into a electric chair. And the grad student then returns to his place behind the computer monitor and says, "Are you ready?" Walt sort of shakes his head like, "Let's do it." And the grad student types in some numbers, and we hear kind of like the lights dim, and we hear the hum as these things activate. And Walt immediately kind of like starts twitching in the chair, and then realizing, or I guess being mindful of the fact that the grad student may not, may shut things down. He sort of looks up and looks at the grad student, and the grad student is saying something, but we can't hear what he's saying over the sound of Walt kind of grunting and whatnot. We're seeing this all from his perspective. And he shakes the grad student is gesturing like, "Shut it down, shut it down." And Walt's like, his head goes down again, and his head snaps up, and we see his eyes have turned this brilliant green. And then we cut. And what we see is the Alpha Flight, logo go by. And we then sort of, when we fade back in, we can see this camera pans down onto what looks like a, like an office park in the middle of a kind of, or like an office building, I should say, in the middle of an office park. And what the white lettering says is Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Headquarters, Department H. And the 2013, I think it says as well. And we see, we kind of cut, a little closer after this establishing shot. We get a little closer in and see that there's a bunch of people kind of moving in and out. Some are dressed in like Canadian Forces uniforms. Some are dressed in like lab coats. Some in, business suits. And we cut inside, and what we see is this woman walking down a hallway, and we can see from behind she's got this great, very vibrant red hair, and she seems like she's got walking with purpose. She's got a t-shirt on. She's got comfortable, very well-worn jeans, comfortable sneakers on, and she turns in and walks into, she got glasses on as well too, turns and walks into this lab. And we can see now from the front that this is, of course, Heather McNeil. And the room that she walks into is a fairly large, it's like about the size of like a school gymnasium. And in here, there's a bunch of kind of mechanical apparatus. And we see that working at this, there's a couple of nameless, kind of underlings or whatever, or like interns maybe, who are working away on different, at different monitors, and sort of wheeling his way between them and talking nonstop is, of course, our another familiar face, which is, where is he? There he is, Roger Box. And Roger kind of, finishes talking whatever he was saying to the one person, turns, is like, "Heather, boss lady's here, boss lady's here." And he spins it around, and his wheelchair, because he's now not, kind of moving around himself. He's in a wheelchair. He starts rolling towards Heather. And Heather kind of looks, at him, and then looks over. And what we can see is sitting kind of, the way that this room is sort of divided is there's a sort of like three different sections. There's one that seems to be all the computers and high-tech electronic stuff. There's another third that is sort of set aside to what looked like a more like a mechanical hands-on kind of workspace. There's people who are working on cybernetics or not cybernetics, but some kind of electronics and stuff. And then there's a third that looks like honestly, it looks like kind of like an activity, like a not activity, like a obstacle course. And in the middle, so you got that's going sort of from left of the room to the middle to the far right of the room. And in the middle, where that mechanical stuff is, we can see that there is there's a suit of some kind, and it looks very much like, it looks like I don't need to. It's very similar to the sort of like super suits we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. I don't have any, or haven't found yet any good illustrations of like MCU versions of the what do you call it, of the Alpha Flight stuff yet.
And you haven't drawn them for us?
I have not, to be honest. Like that will be on my beyond my capabilities. I'm not. My art skills are far too modest to be able to tackle something like that. But let's what we can do though is to use our imaginations, and so this is what the Vindicator costume looks like in the comics, guys. Now, what I'm picturing is the Vindicator suit looks the style, like the design, the coloring, the sort of maple leaf, kind of cross, whatever that they've got their cross pattern there. Imagine if all of that was sort of captured still, but instead of the visor, there's sort of that same like, eyes and mask that you see on Guardian's suit in the background picture. So it's just a white cowl that goes down. And I'm picturing it close to like Captain Marvel's uniform, where it's clearly that it's kind of armor, but it looks like it's made of leather with a little bit of like plastic bits on it. And it can seal as well too, but it leaves the face exposed. The hair isn't necessarily flowing out the way it is in that, because like, why on earth would you have a super suit and then leave your hair free to be pulled? So, but that's what's hanging on that on this rack, on the sort of like dummy there, is this suit that is sort of it's clear it looks like some kind of super suit. It's not bulky the way Iron Man's armor is. It's just it looks like a fairly heavily padded suit. So Heather walks up to Roger and she says, "Are we ready to take it for a test?" And Roger says, "We just need to we need two things. We need Dr. Walt to finish the calibrations for syncing to the magnetosphere, and then a last-minute diagnostics." And almost as if he that kind of speak the devil's name and the devil appears kind of thing, the door opens up and we see in walks, boom, walks Walt. And Walt is what do you think Walt is dressed like, Garland?
I think he looks. He's like he's got a whatever. What NFL team did he play for?
It doesn't actually say. So you can pick whatever.
Okay, well, I don't know very many NFL teams, but I do know the Houston Texans.
Yeah,
so he's got a T-shirt on for them, but then over that he's got the full suit jacket type stuff. So you can tell that he means business, but he's also pretty laid back.
Okay, cool. So he makes his way in, and what does he say as he walks in? As background, what I'm picturing is, because Walt is a physicist too, he's kind of taken over the component of the job of the work on the suit that James Hudson
was doing.
Yeah. So actually, and I found between two, I couldn't think of the pet name. So James's full name was James McDonald Hudson, and Heather always called him Mac, and all his friends always called him Mac.
Okay.
So Walt has taken over what Mac was doing before. Walt is actually like his specialty is more in gamma radiation than other things, but he's still a generalist enough. And for other reasons that we will soon see, he is obviously part of Department H as well. So what does Walt say as he walks in?
How we doing, everyone? Ready for the big day?
Roger kind of turns the chair around and says, "We're ready. How could we not be?" And he kind of puts his hand up for, waiting for the high five.
Well, smash.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So Heather kind of nods. One other bit of background I'll give you too, guys. Remember that the project that you guys worked on at Roxxon was Project Guardian. This is called Project Vindicator, and we're going to find out how it got to that. But it's called Vindicator, not Guardian. So Project Vindicator is ready, and the suit that is set up there is, of course, fitted to quite easily fit around Dr. McNeil, around Heather.
Right. Yep. She's ready.
Okay. So the let's see here. So then, Walt, what we need you to do is to sync this suit. Let's take us over to the old universal table here. Boom. And as a reminder, too, we've actually got the universal table as a handout, too. Oh, look at that. We see poor James.
James.
Alas, poor James, we knew you. Until the dice conspired to turn against you. Okay, so let's get rid of... poor James. Poor James, and let me get Walt down here. Boom. There we go. You can also fill anyone's karma and health is back up to full.
Okay.
So you can fill yours back up to the boom.
Did
So-
we use Heather's karma?
No.
No, we didn't get a chance to.
Yeah. All right. So, Dr. Walt, Walt, you're ready to go. Why don't you give me, please, a reason feat against? Oh, one thing I fucked up. I rewatched the last session as well too. I kept saying class shift. It's column shift.
Mhm.
So CS is column shift. So I started saying that by by sort of like muscle memory by the end of the session. But it's column shift, not class shift. So you're gonna get one column shift.
One column shift for being physicist.
Yep.
All right. Let me roll.
Holy shit! All right, so that's against an incredible fucking red feet result.
Beautiful. We
Wow,
Nice.
So, yeah, we'll figure out what the extra benefit's going to be from the red feet result later. But yeah, wowzers, that was phenomenal. So what does it look like as he sort of syncs up with the magnetosphere?
Well, I think once again we can see that lightning quick type in away. He's going and going, and he sort of pauses for a second, looks up, and he gets a big grin. He starts up again. Clearly has solved something. Who knows what it is that he broke through in his mind, but
Nice.
something happened.
Okay, and we hear this sort of like hum kind of in the room, and then the door opens, and in walks Eugene. Or Puck, rather. Puck walks in, and now rather than the sort of like rig pig sort of outfit that he had on before, he's wearing like to be honest, actually not all that different from what he was wearing before. I think he's wearing brown khakis. He's wearing kind of comfortable hikers, like kind of trail runners, and he's got a black sort of like crew top shirt on, the way he does kind of in the photo there. And he says, "I didn't miss the big show, did I?"
You haven't missed anything.
He walks over to you, Heather, says, "Wow, hard to believe, eh? 3 years. Look how much you guys have done."
Yeah. It's amazing. It was tough at first, but we're here now.
He nods and looks over. He says, Are you ready to get in?"
Never been more ready.
He kind of smiles and nods. It's like, "All right, let's get you suited up then." And we see you start making your way over towards the thing. Roger is just testing the neural interface for it, and yeah, you guys are getting ready to get yourself into the outfit. We then, I think, let's see here. I think then what we'll transition to is, we see you kind of making your way over, and the camera kind of goes down, and we can see that sitting at one of the workstations is a picture, and it's a framed photo of Puck and Mac and Heather and Roger all standing outside the the Roxon kind of thing, and the camera sort of fades out, and then we fade back in, and what we can see is this sort of It's evening in what looks like a fairly small town. There's, we can the reason we think it's a small town is because we can see that the lights are only in some of these. Well, there's a couple of reasons we know this. For one, there's like one 4-story building, and everything else is limited to like 1 or 2 stories. Two, there's lights in some of the main strips and whatnot, in some of the side streets, but then it's pitch blackness outside, where the wilderness sprawls out for in either direction. The camera pans down in this empty stretch of road. And what we can see is that there is a Tim Hortons, and someone has stopped. Yeah, I'd appreciate that, Arlen.
Yeah.
There's a Tim Hortons at which one of the this vehicle stops out, and it's the same Jeep that we saw at the end of last episode. And the vehicle pulls up, and the door opens, and out steps Heather. Although she's trying her best to kind of conceal herself, she's got a ball cap on, and her hair is kind of pulled up through the little like lip or whatever it is at the back there into a ponytail. She's wearing kind of a windbreaker, pulled up, and she kind of looks back and forth up and down the street. Oh, and you know what? Did I load it? Did I load it? Did I load it? Yes, I did. Awesome. Okay. So she looks up and down the street, and there's no one there. So she gets out and makes her way into the here. Okay. She makes her way into the Tim Hortons, and this time of night, there's like 2 teenagers that are kind of talking at one corner at one table in a hushed kind of way. There's what is probably a homeless person who's nursing a double at one of the tables. She goes up and gets a tea and makes sure doesn't get anything to eat, and then heads over to a table that seems to be far enough away from where everyone else is. And she's just looking out at the darkness. Her face is ashen. She looks tired. There's bags under her eyes, no makeup. And the way she's looking around, studying the people in the Tim Hortons and kind of looking out at the empty street outside, it's clear that she's got kind of a haunted or maybe hunted look to her. She sits there for maybe about 10, 15 minutes. And then we see outside, it pulls up an RCMP vehicle. And the thing pulls up, and 2 officers get out. They both, they both hop out. They both put little caps on and make their way into the, into the Tim Hortons.
That's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, right?
It is, yes.
Okay.
I was going to say, I'm like, do I need to explain? Yeah. So the RCMP is in a lot of smaller communities, especially in Western Canada. If they don't have the money or don't have the inclination to hire a local police force, they'll just contract with the RCMP, and then they'll do the police services there. So yeah. But it is, the RCMP are also our sort of like federal police force as well too. There's certain provinces where there's like the Ontario Provincial Police, OPP, and I think there's a Quebec equivalent as well. I can't remember. Do you guys remember, Steve or Jeff? Does Quebec have its own provincial police force too?
That I'm not sure. Definitely Ontario does.
What's that, Steve?
It absolutely would have its own.
Does it? Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I'm sure it's something in French because of language laws, but
because they're French.
Yeah. Well, when we go to Quebec, that's when I'll cross that bridge. So for now, so we know it's RCMP up here. So they hop out, and RCMP as well too, just because the Mounties do have they don't dress in big dress green reds, and they don't wear the like Mountie hats.
Well, I kind of figured, but that was the image that I started with.
Oh yeah, for sure. They that is only the members of the ride, or when they are wearing dress uniforms. I don't even know if their dress uniforms are in red anymore. I know the ride, like these guys who ride around on horses and do kind of like dressage shit, they wear those full outfits, but I don't know whether the dress, like their dress blues, are actually red. But these guys look like, I mean, you know, for you, Arlen, they look like any other kind of police officer. They've got, you know, so it's either dark blue or black kind of outfits. The vehicle would be, at this time, it's white with clear, you know, kind of RCMP logos on there. And these two guys kind of walk into the Tim Hortons, and they're talking to each other, you know, kind of like chit-chatting back and forth. Heather, would you kindly make a intuition feat for me, please?
Okay.
Whew, that is not good.
No.
So you, as they go in, you think that you thought that you heard them say the name Hudson, and you kind of, your head sort of flashes back, you know, for a moment, and you know, you got that look on your face as if you're kind of sort of like, you know, getting away with something. Well, one of them, there's two. There's an older guy and a younger guy. The younger guy kind of looks over, you know, meets your eyes, and for a brief moment, you know, your heart kind of stops, thinking like, shit, they're trying to, you know, they know about what happened at the site, at the Guardian site. They know what happened to Mac. They know what happened to the people who attacked us.
Right.
Then the guy sort of looks away, and they head up to make their order. And the only thing, you know, we can see Heather, you know, look back and just sort of looking down at her tea, trying to look nonchalant. And she's just refusing to look around. But the look on her face, you can tell she's listening intently at every bit of their conversation.
Right. She's trying not to look like she's eavesdropping, but she is eavesdropping hard. Totally.
Yeah. But, you know, this is the most innocuous conversation. They're talking about, like, I don't know, like you know, someone is thinking about rebuilding their deck, you know, and that's what they're talking about. Pine,
right.
Pre-treated pine. No. You know, you got to go with something lighter. And that's the conversation. But you've got this look of like, and you're so focused on that, you don't actually hear the door open and someone else walk in. And you can hear this person goes up. They make their they don't order. They walk over, and then you're sort of listening in on this, waiting for the you know, the Mounties to come over and talk to you or the officers, and then you suddenly realize someone is standing next to you.
Excuse me?
You look up, and we see this person is dressed in, it's a man. He's dressed in like jeans and comfortable clothes, a bomber jacket, but like nice, you know, brand relative, probably quite new. And it kind of, the camera pans up, and he's wearing a ball cap in like the, you know, trying to stay inconspicuous kind of way.
Yeah.
And what he says to you is, "Hey, Red, how are you doing?" And this is that good friend of the family that you called from before, General Jeremy Clark. He's played in the film version by Kiefer Sutherland. So he looks down at you. You've called him.
Jeremy.
Right? You probably call him Uncle Jeremy.
Oh man, Uncle Jeremy, you surprised me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You want anything, or you want something more than that tea?
Yeah, maybe something stronger.
Come on, let's get some food in you. And he gets you. You know, you sort of get up, and do you think that Heather's the kind of person who, you know, she's been holding it together with Puck? You know, in the interim, she's met with you know, met with Roger and whatever. I imagine that she sort of has held it together up until now as well. Do you think she needs to sort of have a bit of a breakdown with him, or do you think she's still like just, you know, tough?
I think she's pretty tough at this point. I mean, it's been 2 years, you said, right?
No. This is actually, we're flashing back now. This is
okay.
3 years
This is right after.
Yeah.
She would still be putting on a brave face, but
you actually give me a good point. So what we see in the white lettering, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada, 2010. This is like 3 days after the event.
Right.
You made that call right away. There's been no news. The big Iron Man thing for the last couple of days, that's what's been sort of dominating the news cycle, with the talking heads and whatnot. And Roger is still in hospital. The surgery, he's got through surgery. He's already actually been back to, he insisted on you guys giving him access to his laptop because he wanted to make sure that he basically stole all schematics of the Guardian suit from the Roxxon oil mainframe.
Right.
So he's taking care of that. And then Puck has been basically like making sure that basically, helping you guys stay under the radar, keeping an eye out for any strangers and stuff like that. And you've just been waiting for Uncle Jeremy to get here.
Right.
So we cut again now to a kind of like a dive bar, and it's really, there's very few places. Fort McMurray is, like I said last time, is a boom town, and it's a boom town for people who want to go and work in the oil fields. It has one of the highest rates of like meth addiction and cocaine use, and the people who are living up there make ridiculous amounts of money, but I tend to blow through it in an incredibly fast way.
Right.
But this night you're sort of near the end of the night, so it's not raucous and whatever else, but it's just, there's country music playing in the background. You guys have stolen a table. There's still some people drinking in here, but not it's not packed, but it's not like, it's not even half full. You guys now have some chicken wings in front of you. You got some beers in front of you, and now Uncle Jeremy wants to know what happened.
Well, we were attacked. We're not sure by who. Military seeming, but I don't know. I don't think it was the Canadian military.
Did you didn't check any of the they didn't have any uniforms or insignia, no dog tags?
If they did, we were too frightened to really check them. We just ran out of there. We should have.
James, tell me again what happened to him.
He activated the suit. He was going to jump it to safety, but something must have got wrong in the calculation. He just vanished.
This is a non out of character thing, but I listened to the last session again too. You know what I think happened?
Yeah.
That fucking ring he had in his pocket.
Yep, it was magnetic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Yeah, he forgot he had it on him. So
right, he made it out of. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So So anyway, Jeremy says that the suit that you were working on. This is something like that. Is it something like, and he sort of gestures up at the TV, and there's, we can see that there's footage of Iron Man, sort of flying over something or other somewhere in California. Is it?
It is something like that. A little different technology, but some of the same applications.
And you're certain that it was, can you prove that it was Roxxon that sent the men?
Does Roger have evidence or no? I don't think we have any evidence.
You got some emails from some fairly powerful.
Oh yeah, right. We have a chain of emails.
Then, Red, you're in a bit of a pickle. The suit's gone, but there's no way to prove that they're the ones who came after you.
Not really, no.
Stolen all the schematics, then you may have been you may have committed an industrial espionage, and theft is no small thing.
No,
Roxxon's got a lot of friends, both on Parliament Hill and in my field world.
Of course they do. What are you suggesting?
Well, seems like there's more. Things are looking stranger and stranger in the world in the last little while. And Canada's not about to ignore that. The government has put together a department that is intending, and within the department, a project to be sure that if these threats come to Canada, that we will be able to respond accordingly.
It's a good idea not to rely on the Avengers or on the Americans.
This is pre. This is pre.
Yeah. So change it to Americans.
Yeah. If it's very much a work in progress right now, but I know some people who are involved with it, and if you and your team, your surviving team, are willing to keep working on that suit for a different application than mining, we may be able to find a way to deal with the consequences of the theft.
I'm in. Let's do it.
All right.
Really, she's thinking that the ability to do more research on the suit might be a method to find James.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, totally. So what, he says, all right, then let me make some calls, Red. You've got somewhere to hide? Someone who's keeping you under? Or you want to come?
Yeah. I think we should go.
All right. I'm going to get us flights back. You're coming with me to Ottawa. We'll fix this, Red. Don't you worry. And then we sort of cut back to the... Actually, we're going to cut now to back to modern day. Or modern day being 2014 or 2013 rather. And what we see is this... let me think here. It is a... Yeah, it's a fairly desolate... sorry, I'm trying to think where I want to stage this. So what I'm going to say is that this is now in, let's say Calgary. So it's Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and modern day. And what we see is this vehicle. What it looks like, I mean, honestly, it looks like an unmarked police car. And the unmarked police car sort of pulls up, and out of the vehicle steps a woman in... what do you call it? In RCMP uniform. But let me just I'll put a handout here for you guys. And what she looks like is, go. Boom. It's this. And we can see on her uniform, there is the name tag, and the name tag says Constable Mackenzie. She gets out and walks over to sort of a couple officers who are like patrol officers, it looks like, who are standing around a marked off kind of body. This is your classic kind of murder scene kind of thing. And she says, "All right, so what's happened here?" And there's a bit of back and forth with the officers, and they talk about sort of what what's they're explaining to her what kind of brought them here too. It looks like it's it's the scene, I think, is It is an evening, and it is. We see like on the. This is a long stretch of road, and there are tons of people who are kind of around. There's a lot of looky-loos on on the street as well. We're kind of stopped where around where the police tape is. This is outside of like a pub of some kind. It's clear that there's some kind of party or something like that that's gone on. Steve, you would recognize this if you looked as 17th Ave.
Noise.
So she walks up, and she talks to these guys a bit too, and she asks if you can get sort of picture like the typical sort of establishing scene of any thing that tells you this person is a police officer. So she goes around, they're like, oh, go and talk to the people in the crowd and blah blah blah. So they head off, and then we also see this is Anne McKenzie, who is played by the very talented Julia Jones in our cinematic equivalent. So she is looking down, and then she sees on the ground a strange, one strange thing. It looks like it's a feather, like an eagle feather. And she looks at it, and then things sort of seem to be then caught up in a gust that kind of, it goes up in the air and then lands, and then up again and lands, and it kind of gets up and drifts close to her, and then it sort of starts moving off in the direction of the crowd. She looks around at the rest of the crowd, and it's kind of like, oy, and makes her way over to the through the crowd, and then to this further down the street away from the crime scene, to a point where there's sort of like a break in the road. It's an alley that leads further back, and we can still see that eagle feather, seemingly borne aloft by some unseen wind, is still drifting along, and then it makes its way down the alleyway. She continues down the alleyway. It doesn't look concerned. There's not a look of concern in her face whatsoever. But she reaches the alley, walks about maybe 30 feet back into it, and she stops and says, "All right, where are you, and what do you want?" And we see this man step out, who looks like this. And Steve, this is Michael Youngman, also known as Shaman. This is your character for tonight, your main character. So Steve, to give you an idea of what is going on here. So Anne McKenzie, also known as Narya, is, you've got a bit of an interesting backstory. So I think you read the one that was on the character's comic backstory, but I made a couple alterations to it. So the broad strokes of Shaman's backstory is that he's originally from the Siksika First Nation, from outside of Calgary, and he comes from a long line of mystics. His grandfather was actually the world shaman, the most recent successor to that title, and the expectation was that Michael would also likewise be a successor, but he did not follow that path. He decided he got himself off of the reservation. He went to undergrad in sciences. He went to med school, and he became a successful surgeon. In addition, he had a lovely wife, and he had a Catherine, and he had a child too, a daughter named Elizabeth. And what ended up happening is Catherine actually came down with an illness, and it was terminal. And Michael did all his damnedest, pursued every possible medical remedy, pursued every alternative, medicine remedy that he could, and unfortunately to no avail. And an even further kind of bit of not misfortune, but a further twist to it was that Michael, in desperation, he made a promise to his daughter, Elizabeth, that he would save Catherine. And that was a promise he couldn't keep. Catherine died. And as a result of Catherine's death, he kind of lost himself. And the combination of his withdrawal into himself and him cursing his grandfather and himself for sort of not following that. His grandfather made it clear that he could have helped. He could have saved her. That guilt led him to sort of draw into himself, and his daughter ran away. After about the 8th or 9th time of her running away, it was just agreed that it would be better that she would live with part of her extended family. So Elizabeth left. In that darkest, kind of spot is when a spirit that Michael took to be his grandfather came to him and told him that he needed to pursue the proper path. The only way to heal himself and to be of value to his family and the world in general is to follow the path of the shaman. And that's what he then spent 10 years doing. About 5 years into that tenureship, he had another. While one daughter went out, another came into his life, and that was Narya. Now, Narya came to him, and it was explained that she was the daughter of an Inuit goddess named Nelvana and a mortal. So because she was a demigod, effectively, she could not live in the realm of the gods, and she obviously needed some kind of needed someone who could have a foot in both worlds. And so you adopted her. While life took away one daughter from you, you found yourself with another one. And that, as to help Narya fit in, Narya is, I'll show you what the superhero version of, I'm going to make a handout of what Snowbird looks like. Boom. So this is what Snowbird looks like in the comics. And I'm kind of picturing Snowbird looking fairly similar, although instead of blonde hair, it's like jet white hair. And but her eyes look the same, not jet white. That's not the phrase. Snow white. Jet white. Yeah, white is coal, as the saying goes.
Yeah, of course. White is coal.
But otherwise, I'm kind of picturing that kind of like flowing, ragged cloak around her, and what looks like sort of, instead of, it looks more like furs and blue accoutrements and stuff than a superhero costume. But I picture a similar kind of headdress when it's on. Narya also has, she had the ability to basically transform into any kind of, the entire animal kingdom of the north was hers. She could turn into a polar bear. She could turn into a snowy owl. She could turn into a marmot. She could turn into mosquito. She could turn into whatever, and there's all these different things that she could, into a seal. And to help with, her acclimatizing to the kind of mortal world, you developed this identity for her of Anne Mackenzie. And the older she got, the less time she spent as Narya. And you tried to make sure that, when you were trying to, be a supportive father and help her, fit in and blah, 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 you really did help her live as Anne Mackenzie. And the older she got, the less interested she was in that sort of magical world. And you can kind of see her following that same mistakes, or it's the same sort of path that you did of turning your back on it. And I'll leave it to you to figure out how you responded to that. Did you sympathize with that? Did you find it frustrating?
Well, I can't tell her how to live her life. I taught her as best I could. I tried to respect sort of the relationship between us and our boundaries. And this is sort of the path she's chosen. I think that the thing about the world of magic is that it involves a lot of destiny and forces greater than ourselves. And I strongly suspect that she's not done with the world of magic. It'll call her back again one day when it's ready.
Well, it's funny you say that. So Anne or Narya has she has really, you can't think of maybe the last time she has resumed her identity as Narya. When she was a kid, you could not stop her. She'd be outside all the time, even in the worst weather, running around as a snow fox, running around, flying around as a great snowy owl, or even, sort of like, trundling around, running as a wolf, But lately, you know, she has become she got herself through undergrad and I think maybe no, probably not a master's, but undergrad, and she's been a member of the RCMP for a number of years now, and has made her way up in the RCMP too. She's really built kind of a life for herself as a police officer. But the thing you've noticed over time is that there is kind of a dichotomous split. Anne is very different from Narya, you know, and I'm not sure whether you, well, I'll leave it to you how you feel about that. You know, what you've found over, you know, since becoming the world shaman is that, you know, the world is a much more, it's a much bigger place than what, you know, the material, those who focus on the material really realize. There are wonders and, you know, astonishing things to be exposed to in the spirit world. There's also incalculable dangers as part of the spirit world as well, too. You, of course, as the world shaman, have learned all about the great beasts that are said to be locked beneath the, you know, beneath the Great White North, sealed somewhere away. And the reason I mention those is because you recently have had a fairly, and we're going to deal with it in more detail in a future episode, but you've had a catastrophic vision of the future. There is a doom coming. And you need to have a, yeah, you don't, it's not clear to you yet. The one thing you know about the spirits is that they are frustratingly cryptic in their pronouncements and in their, you know, oracular declarations, which requires that you sort of try to be more clever than them or than they, to sort out what they actually mean by it. And what you've known is that, or what you've uncovered is that Narya is her sort of, you've heard rumors from some of the spirits about her arrival being part of some prophecy. And of course, prophecy is a dangerous thing because, you know, is it someone declaring that something's going to happen, or is it convincing people that it's going to happen and then getting them to do what you want them to do? You know that spirits can be both. You know, they can be very, very wise, but also very tricky. And what she has, what Narya's role will be, you know, that you need allies to fight in this. As the world has gone on, and more people have turned their minds away from the spiritual, there have been fewer and fewer shaman. You know, where the last great struggle against the great beasts, there was an army of shaman to stand. Now it's tough. You know, the more that people focus on the material and on the mundane, the harder it is to tap into that spiritual thing. So this, you know, if she does have a role to play, she will be an important and key ally. And you have met since then too a department of the Canadian government that seems to be part of that too. This department called Department H has put together an initiative called Alpha Flight, and you have joined them. You foresaw that was sort of what you needed to do. You've, over the last 3 years since it's been put together, you've met Heather McNeil. You know what she's planning to do. You've met Dr. Walter Langowski. You've met Puck. You met Roger Box, and you've met 2 other people as well too that we'll deal with before. But what we're here for right now is for you to try and convince Anne that Narya needs to join. That Anne or Narya or both, she needs to be joining them. Her purpose, you know, that Alpha Flight is somehow going to be involved in the struggle here, or your allies there, and you need her help with it. So this is, I'll show you what Shaman looks like in the comics. And this isn't the John Byrne, for those who are listening at home and are Alpha Flight purists. This actually isn't the costume that John Byrne drew. This is the, or designed. This is the one that Mike Mignola designed. But I actually think it's kind of cooler than the John Byrne one. And also Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy, you know, obviously has some pretty serious design chops. But that's sort of You know, you can kind of picture like an MCU version of that type of costume when you're in your shaman garb.
Right.
But what do you look like, you know, in, you know, he's otherwise a surgeon. What do you kind of picture him dressing like? You've transported yourself here, and it's you who directed that feather to bring her down to here to talk to you. You have, as well, like when you're in your shaman garb, you remember that staff that the world shaman was walking around with in the opening episode?
Right.
With the eagle on the end that can kind of transform into a spiritual eagle. You have that now. And you have a medicine bag that has basically like your kind of the magic that you could, you know, to work your shamanic magic. That's what you need.
Well, of course.
So, but I'm not sure, but like, do you think you're sort of, you know, the person who steps out of the alley, is he in his full shamanic regalia, or is he dressed more like a mundane person and he's disguised his staff and his medicine bag? What do you think?
At the moment, I think he's dressed sort of, you know, kind of like a casual, but sort of, you know, classy and understated, you know, a leather jacket, jeans, and a nice shirt and watch. You know, it looks like a sort of successful doctor just chilling out in the city.
Okay. So he steps out, and what is the staff disguised as?
The staff is disguised as, that's a good question.
Oh, is it like a walking stick, or?
I was just gonna say a hockey stick, as a matter of fact.
Oh, no, it's a hockey stick.
Nice.
So he steps out with a hockey stick, and then maybe over his shoulder, the medicine bag is a small like duffel bag, not quite the size of a hockey bag, but something like that.
Exactly.
So yeah, so he looks like a you know middle-aged professional on his way to his you know pickup hockey game.
Exactly.
So she sees you walk out, and she looks at you and kind of shakes your head. And you know the relationship I see you guys having had at some point is that Anne or Narya is, you know, she's effectively a second daughter for you. You haven't seen Elizabeth in years.
Right.
You know, you've heard that she went to school and has become a professor of some kind, but you haven't seen her in a long time. What is it you say? What do you call? I guess first off, like what name do you say as you step out? Is it Anne or is it Narya?
We'll go with Anne. Yeah, got to respect her identity.
Sure. Okay. So you step out and say, "Hello, Anne," and she looks up, says, "Dad, what do you want?"
Why can't a father come and see his daughter once in a while? See how she's doing?
Dad, I'm always happy to see you, but I'm working, and lately, you know, and he sort of looks around at the alleyway. This doesn't strike me as just a catching up with your daughter kind of meeting.
Well, you know, while catching up, I'll tell you about some interesting events that have been going on around the world. Sure, you'd love to hear about them. Maybe it'll involve some of your work.
Are you talking about that Stark guy? I saw that.
Well, you know, it's funny how everything converges at a certain time and in this world. And yes, there are a lot of events happening right now, and that's not unconnected.
What is it you want, Dad?
How about dinner?
I can do dinner. Why don't you come back to my place? I'll make something. I'll pick something up on the way home, and I'll meet you. Do you need the key, or she kind of leaves it hanging? And Steve, one of your spells is a teleportation spell.
Oh yes, right, of course. I'm sure I'll find my way in.
You turn and you gesture. And do you remember that sort of like that green crack that appeared in a wall in that first episode?
Right.
That crack opens, then it opens up, and you can see inside, and it's an apartment. It's her apartment. She shakes her hand. She says, "I'll see you later. There's beer in the fridge. Help yourself."
Perfect.
So you, I think we see, we cut to later in the day. You've you got maybe like one or two empty beers, and you're sort of looking around. No, there's maybe one empty beer, and then you're sort of nursing the second one, and you can see, like, looking around her apartment. We can see that she's built a whole life for herself here, right? Like, there's friends from the academy. There's like pictures of her hiking. There's pictures of her, whatever. It's an abnormally normal lifestyle. Like, there's nothing here that would suggest any kind of, there's some, there's some pictures of, like, friends from the reservation. But, you would think that this was just a normal person's, life. No photos of Narya, obviously. And, nothing that would make someone think that this is the home of a demigoddess. How does that make you feel?
I think I understand a little bit. Some people need to find themselves by losing their sort of more cosmic identity, which can be a burden at times.
Sure, yeah. Okay. And then we hear the sound of kind of rattling at the key, at the door. Someone's putting a key in, and you hear, it unlocks. The door opens, and Anne walks in. And what do you think you would have done in the interim? Like, would you have set up anything? I think the food smells amazing too. And she's gone. Let's see here. You know what she's gone to, because she was in the area? She's gone to 4th Street Pizza.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's my number 2 favorite pizza shop in town. And she brings, so she brings in this big thing. She's like, "I hope pizza's okay."
That'll be fine.
She sets things up, and we kind of cut to you guys sitting down in front of the, the TV, and there's, I don't know, some game that's on TV, playing idly in the background. And she's like, "So what brings you to Calgary? I thought you'd set yourself up in Toronto now."
Oh, well, yes, I'm doing fairly well out there, but well, I just thought I would come and get back to my roots a little bit here. I have some questions to explore.
Don't you all?
Right.
She kind of takes a bite of the pizza. I'm up for promotion.
A promotion?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Well,
You really enjoying your career, eh?
She nods. I am. And her hair's like where her hair was up before too. She's in comfortable clothes now, and her hair's down. It's it's good. It's the work is interesting. The people are terrific. It's satisfying.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Do you ever think about your other calling?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, is there a place in your new world for your old knowledge?
Dad, I know that there's things that brought you back into that world in your life. And I know that I'm grateful for everything that you've done and helping me. But I don't know if that world and this world, she kind of like, gestures at her apartment, that they can both exist.
Right. Oh, I do understand, daughter. The ordinary world is not very understanding.
It's not that, Dad. It's the longer I spend between me and Narya, the more it feels like a completely different person. I know that you have a connection to that world, Dad, but for me, it's not that I access that world or that I step into that world, I become that world. And the more time that you spend in that, the harder it is to leave and to ever go back. The last time that Narya came out, I was gone 2 months. And I admit that there's a thrill and there's, well, I mean, you know, all the things that come from that, but Narya is so strong that I don't think that there's room for both her and this. And I like this, Dad. I like this a lot.
Yes, I can see that. Well, good. You do what makes you feel good. I'm sure it will lead you where you're supposed to go.
So he smiles. All right. And you can kind of hear, Michael, you sort of hear this like, and you can hear it's eagle. It's your totem. Your eagle, and not your eagle. Eagle is not pleased. He's like, "What are you doing?" She needs this. We need her. You can hear Eagle's voice.
I don't want to rush her or crowd her. We'll talk with her again tomorrow and tell her more about what's going on.
Okay. Do you say that out loud, or do you just ignore Eagle for now?
Can I think it an eagle?
If you, here's what you can do. Actually, because you can drift into, you could sort of like drift into astral space for a moment and then talk to Eagle that way.
Interesting. All right.
So why don't you do this? Give me a psyche feat, please.
All right.
And +1 column shift because of your occult background.
All right, Shaman.
I got your stats on the character sheet, Steve. It's just your powers are the ones you have to look up on the phone.
That's okay. I'm trying to click my character sheet for some reason. It's not working on. That's just a picture. That's not a character sheet. What am I?
Oh yeah, sorry. Under characters, under the characters tab.
Okay.
Sorry.
Youngman. There he is. All right. Come on. What's going on here? All right.
Oh, you know what I'll do, Steve? Actually, I'll since we got it, Michael, I'll make a token for you. Oh, there we go.
Okay, Psyche. Where are you, Psyche? There it is. Okay, incredible.
Oh, I can't see what it is. Is it bad?
Wait, where is it? James Jeff.
Oh, it's green. Just
there you go. That's a green.
Ooh, 36. So you get 1 column shift because of so it's amazing.
well, then it's middle green.
36. Middle green. Okay, yeah. So yeah, no, you can easily. This is a like a facile, feat for you. You sort of, we can't see. What do you call it? Or Anne doesn't make any note, indication that you've drifted off in the shadows, into the astral plane. But in Doctor Strange, when he sort of like his astral body comes out, that's when you sort of drift back and you look over and you can see there's this enormous fucking eagle that's just sort of hanging or hovering in air, slowly moving its wings languidly. But in place of it has this kind of like it's a halfway point between like a living bird and then a kind of like West Coast totemic style illustration. So it's got like all the markings of like the First Nations kind of tattoos and whatnot, and then its eyes are glowing as well too. This brilliant green energy.
I can't stop thinking of Harvey Birdman. I'm suddenly turning into Harvey Birdman.
So he, you look over and and Eagle looks down and says, "We need her. She has a destiny. She shirks it at the risk of everything."
Of course she does. But the people have to learn this in their own time. There are reasons that these things happen. Perhaps an event will cause her to re-examine her position.
An event. Yes. Yes. Perhaps. Give me an intuition check, please. And I'll give you a +1 column feed as well, or a column shift as well there, Steve-O. Ooh, looks pretty good. Holy shit, your intuition is amazing. Good Lord. Okay. So you're not sure what Eagle means by that, whether he's just agreeing with you or he's implying something else. So do you have anything else you want to say to Eagle, or do you drift back into your body again? Oh, Steve, we still got you, or?
Yes, I think we're done with Eagle for the moment then. But,
okay. So you drift, your astral form appears back in your body. Eagle disappears. We're back in the mortal world. And Anne says, "So you understand then?"
I do, daughter. I do understand a great many things. And you do as well. But there are more secrets that await you. I think some of them may come knocking on your door sooner than you think.
Well, that's what I have you for, Dad. You keep them away from the door, right?
I'll do what I can.
Good. And she taps your leg. "I'll get you another beer." And she gets up and heads over, and that's where we leave that scene. But as she sort of walks away, we can see that, you, for a brief moment, this look of real concern comes over your face. Like, there's probably a reason you're not telling her the full force of this, because it is fucking terrible. The potential, the reason and the need for her to, to assume her destiny in your mind it's just terrible. It's a terrible fucking thing that awaits her. And how does that make you feel, knowing that this is, a daughter to you?
Right, of course. But of course, in the life of a shaman, you're called to deal with burdens that really human beings aren't even equipped to deal with. So it's sort of feel like, it's a huge burden to bear. It's certainly that duty. It's that calling.
Right. Now, what I'm asking though is, how does it make you feel that knowing that you're going to have to foist a lot of that duty onto your daughter?
Not good. But I know that you'll figure it out. I know that you will eventually understand that we don't always have a choice.
Okay. All right. So then we cut back now to he sort of, after that look on his face, he sort of looks back at the TV, or he smiles at Anne as she brings a beer back, and then they sit back down and go back to watching hockey or whatever the hell's on TV. We cut now back to the lab, and we've got Heather, and we've got Walter and Roger and Puck that are around. And first we're seeing the guys. The guys are all kind of, at different, kind of stations, and they're hitting different, what do you call it? They're hitting different, they're typing away on different monitors and stuff like that. There's kind of displays of, beams and bars and shit like that. Scientific displays that are showing up on each of the monitors. And Roger sort of looks over and says, "Heather, how's that feeling?" And Heather, we sort of pan over, and Heather is wearing the Vindicator suit. So let's where is it here? Handout. Boom. So again, that it looks like that is the rough design, but there's no fucking hair flowing out the back. And it kind of looks like it's the same sort of like textured almost, armor style that we see for Captain Marvel's armor. So you can picture with that same stuff, but you're sort of moving around and yeah, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, feels great, guys.
All right. Walter, you're going to activate the field now. You're not going to have to roll again because you rolled that red feat earlier. So you hit some things and you suddenly feel, boy, like Heather, things are, you feel like there's more going on here. And Roger says the neural interface, everything looks green. And Walt says, all right, field's ready for you. And Puck then says, Heather, you ready to fly there, Mrs. McNeil? Or Ms. McNeil?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. She says, Walter, sort of looks over Walt, you look over at Roger, you look over at Puck, and you say, ready when you are, ma'am. And we look back and there's this, it's the hero shot of like slowly panning up. And she's there. The goggles are all, or the eye slits are all white. They're opaque. And she's got this smile on her face. Which sort of flexes and then gestures out as the whole suit kind of, and her kind of lift up in the air. And how's that feel, Heather?
Feeling good so far.
What are you going to do first? What's the first thing you're going to try here? You're near the, where the sort of like obstacle course is.
Yeah, let's fly through the obstacle course.
Okay. Why don't you give me so first thing Walter says is we've got the baseline field up, Heather, but you're going to need to activate, if you're going to fly, first-time drivers should always wear their seatbelts, so be sure you've got the field up. What that means, so force fields in Marvel superheroes are different from just natural armor. They'll protect you up to the rating of your force field, and if you take more damage than that, it knocks them down, and you then have to spend an action to reactivate them. Your force field has a amazing protection against physical attacks and incredible protection against energy. So it's 50 points from physical, 40 points from energy.
Cool.
So will you activate that?
Yeah, turn it on.
What does it look like? What do you think the field, when we see the field go up? Like it's going to be translucent, but is it like a blue glow like we saw before? Is it orange? Is it what?
I think that it's not the same as their sort of prototype. They've advanced it now, and it's sort of... maybe it's got this sort of a deeper iridescent blue.
Nice. Okay. So it flares into that deep iridescent blue and then sort of fades back down into a more translucent shimmer.
Yeah.
And we can see that like from the colors and the vibrant, iridescence that you mentioned, that it's clearly more powerful than it was. Fields up. Why don't you give me an agility feat, please? We'll try and get you to fly. And I'm going to give you, no, it's your first time flying, so no column shift then.
She is not a good pilot.
Woo. So 42, I don't think is, so the first thing you do is you start flying, towards this thing. Well, what do you think happened? You're going to smash into something, but what do you think you hit?
Well, I think they've set the obstacle course up with, little breakaway columns or something, or, it's not, they don't want to damage the suit or Heather. So she's just trying to go through there, and she's sort of chipping off the corners of the gyprock or gypsum or whatever they've used to sort of make this thing, and just kind of blasting through it roughly like a pinball instead of smoothly.
It's like a superhero Quintain.
Yeah. Just sort of like, rounding the corners of the maze, shall we say.
So smash. And that gives us an excellent opportunity to talk about material strength, what happened with charging. So there is in the player's book, there is a list of material strength. And basically, if you run into something, you will take damage equal to the material strength of either your speed or the material strength of whatever you hit, whatever's lower. This stuff is probably like, rubber or even wood, which is poor. So it's 4.
Yeah.
So even though 4 points is not, an amount equal to your force field, so you sort of smash. You're smashing through this stuff. What are you saying as you're knocking this shit over? It's not hurting you at all.
She's sort of like, don't worry, guys, just getting the hang of it.
Okay. So bam. You want to try again?
Sure.
Okay.
See if she can actually. I mean, she's not going to be very good at this. So. Oh,
hey,
better.
That's for sure. Yeah. So you after a little bit of a clumsy start, it's kind of like you're sort of like half walking, kind of like moving your legs in a weird way as you fly, and then you sort of get into a more aerodynamic and comfortable sort of flying place, and you start moving around the room quite easily. And there's a slight hum as you kind of pass by too, that sort of crackling hum of energy. And
Yeah.
Roger says, "Hey, now you're getting the hang of it." Actually, I think he just calls Box is probably what he goes by. So Box says, "Yeah, now you're getting the hang of it. All right. Then what so you're not gonna, if you really want to get some speed up on this, you're gonna need to go outside, and they hit a button, and there's sort of a skylight that sort of opens up. And are you ready to go through?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Can I use my red success from earlier to supercharge it or something?
Yeah. Okay. So
All
you
right.
get ready, and then there's this burst and like kind of a sonic boom that comes from behind it as you zip out into the open. Let's take a look at the maps in this too. So this is what a map in Marvel superheroes traditionally looks like, with the different areas in there and whatever. And we're just going to use this as the what do you call it? The thing for Toronto. Right now, let me give some stuff here. We'll give you your token. You can see that token there, Jeff, right?
I might have to change my.
It's a really big map. Sorry.
If you shift ping, you can move us to the area.
Oh, okay. Give me a sec here. I'll do that. Excellent idea. All right. Shift, ping, boom. Did I bring you guys the token?
It didn't for me.
No.
Oh, you know what? I got ping. There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It did
Look at that. New
Sweet.
skill set. Okay. So Vindicator, let's say that you are hilarious. It's actually called the TD Bank I just put you next to. TD is the Toronto Dominion Bank. So oh man, there's a Home Depot over there. Let's say that it is this is an office park. So let me see if I can find I've got another map I could load that's actually a little less of a downtown area and more of an office park kind of thing. But let's just say that you fly out over here. I'll ping and bring you over again too. And I plan on abusing the shit out of that feature now.
Nice.
Okay, so you fly out and then when you hit this. So your speed, you can see on your character sheet there, Jeffrey, that your character has a flight speed of up to Shift X, which means you can fly your different rank. Your rank in your movement power will tell you how many you can move per round. The miles per hour speed of that, I think, is 400 and something. Let's see here. Miles per hour is 750 miles an hour.
Holy shite.
It's 50 areas per round. So I think that you go flying. I'm not even sure there's 50 areas on this entire map here. Let's see.
So that really is not quite enough, but almost enough for a sonic boom.
Not quite. Okay, there you go. So,
But maybe with the supercharge, we got just a little bit extra and got a little one.
7, 8, 9, 10. You know what? It maybe basically you like fly from one corner of this map, Jeff, all the way to the other. That's how fast you're traveling right now.
Amazing.
You know, flying through the air. How's she feeling about this?
She's just feeling great. Like it's. I mean, obviously, it would be super thrilling and exciting for anyone to fly around in a suit like that.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I
And this
think
has
that
gotta be. Go ahead.
just really enjoying it is what I would say.
So, what do we see in sort of this like initial flight montage?
I think what you see is, so wait, are they? How secretive would she be keeping this suit?
Alpha Flight is intending on going public momentarily. This is part of the reason you're out here is to start kind of building the rumors and whatnot.
Then I think she is like trying to fly by, populous places and sort of be seen.
Nice. So, okay, so you sort of are zipping along and you arc down towards, towards downtown Toronto. And the thing that makes, so Toronto is, for those unfamiliar, Toronto is basically it's on the side of one of the Great Lakes, or on the shores of one of the Great Lakes. And one of the really signature, so the waterfront, kind of makes a pretty iconic part of the landscape. But one of the other main things is the CN Tower, which looks an awful lot like the Calgary Tower as well too. But it's a spire with a kind of a bulb on top of it. And you can, I really, if I was not such a Bush League DM, I would do I would have had that ready, but I will between now and next session. And what we see is you kind of, zipping towards that iconic skyline. You zip past the CN Tower where there's a bunch of tourists who are taking photos and, looking down the glass floor, and they're kind of like, oh, and see you go by. Are you keeping at your max speed, or are you slowing down to kind of, let him see?
I think she's sort of like changing the speed. So like, quickly flying from one public area to another, but slowing down while she's flying over them so that people can actually see her.
Nice. So you fly past the beaches, and there's all these people kind of like, whoa. And one of the little kids looks up and is like, Iron Man. And the kid next to him hits him, and she's like, it's a woman. And then keep on going, and then you make your way through. What is it? King. What's the cross street, Steve-O, with King? Actually, Steve knows Toronto way better than I do. Steve, what do we see? What are the kind of the iconic landmarks that she zips past? I'm thinking of like Castle Loma. So she zips past that crazy big old castle that was built by that tycoon that immediately went broke.
Right. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. You gotta pass by the U of T campus. It's nice.
What's the art gallery called?
Oh yeah, and it's the new architecture. It is. It's like the Royal Ontario Museum or the ROM.
That's what it is. Right. Yeah. The ROM. So you zip past the Royal Ontario Museum, and again, there's tourists who sort of look up and like, whoa. They're taking photos as you go by. How long do you carry this? I guess I can imagine you're smiling and kind of laughing as this is happening, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
How long do you think it is? I think it's inevitable that you're going to think of Mac at some point. Like, when is it that you when your mind turns to that? This was his dream. Right?
I think everything's just going so smoothly, and her brain just drifts to like, Mac would have loved this.
Nice, awesome.
And then
you sort of spin and do this cool corkscrew kind of thing through the sky, and then head back. And everyone back in the lab is just like, high-fiving and cheering and everything. And I think that because they've really kind of come to know each other, Walt grabs Roger out of this chair and kind of is like, spinning him around, and Roger's just like, yes, yes. And I mean, it's a real scene of incredible jubilance. How long is it before Heather brings the thing back, before she finally actually returns back to the lab? Because there's actually 2 more things you need to test.
I think she would sort of fly out of the city for the other test, right?
Yeah. She said, So once
I think sort of after she has that moment of like, contemplating like, Mac would have loved this. Then she thinks back to the team and like, oh yeah, I got to do this, and would fly out of the city and continue.
Okay, so you're flying to the city, and as you're sort of flying along, you hear from a voice in your ear saying, "So now you actually, hold on. I'm trying to do a fucking French Canadian accent, and I cannot think of what it sounds like right now. It's just going to sound like fucking Pepe Le Pew if I try and do it, which is kind of a hate crime. So you can picture in your mind. I will try and listen to some French Canadian accents online between now and next session. But you can picture that this voice is in French Canadian. You hear, so it seems I am not the only who can fly. Sorry. So you think you can fly as well? And you recognize the voice, of course. And the voice is coming from Jean-Paul, and that is Jean-Paul Bobier. And what you see flying up next to you there, Heather, is a guy who looks like this. Also known in the comics as North Star. And North Star in the comics looks like this, guys. Yeah. Where is he? Yeah. So that's what North Star looks like in the comics, as drawn by his creator, John Byrne. And I'm picturing sort of his suit is similar to what it is in comics, but you can picture it's that Marvel Comics kind of like textured leather kind of thing. And he's not like big and muscular like he is in the photo. He's thin and lean, like who is playing him in our version of the Cinematic Marvel U Alpha Flight, and that is what's his fucking name? Do you guys remember the actor's name before I look it up again? He plays.
No, honestly, I don't.
He plays the Flash in Justice League. He plays the
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller, you got it. Yeah. So Ezra Miller goes along, and he's now flying like in sync with you, Heather. He's you're not sure. He is one of 2 twins who have that Alpha Flight has identified, or Department H identified. He's actually the second. He's got a sister that we're not going to meet this episode, but in a future episode. Twins who had been separated. Jean-Paul was an Olympic skier. And, as you can imagine, there's a suspicion that his powers may have played a role in those Olympic medals. But he's flying along. He is, at best, a reluctant participant in Alpha Flight. You get the sense, in fact, that Uncle Jason or Uncle Jeremy may have actually blackmailed him into participating.
Oh, wow.
That and he also grew up apart from his sister, and we'll talk about his sister a little later. But he did not know about her for a number of years, and as you'll see in a future episode, she's not had an easy life the way Jean-Paul did. Jean-Paul grew up with a good family that supported him in his skiing and whatnot, and helped keep his powers secret. But he's had them as long as he's known. He's flying along, and he says, "So, shall we race?"
Yeah, let's do it.
He looks at you and says, "See if you can keep up." And it's he's just fucking gone. You know, he's there, and there's this crazy wake that's left on Lake Superior as he goes zipping by. You gonna try and keep up?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool. So let's do this. I'm gonna check what his speed is. I think he's Shift Z speed. Like he's a full on super speedster. Yeah, he can hit Mach 10.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, but what we'll do is to model this. Like, I don't really care what his successes is. It's you comparing to him. You do have a Shift X though, so you're not. You're still pretty darn quick. But because remember how we do contested feats, your stat is a Shift X, his is Shift Z. Because his is higher than you need to get a red feat in order to catch him. So basically, you can roll pretty much any stat just to make the roll, and we'll compare that to the Shift X column and see what color result you get, and then we'll narrate kind of what's happened from it. So go ahead.
So it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter which one.
Not at all. Not at all. No. Whatever one feels best to you. 66.
No.
I think you needed an 80 to get red.
Yeah, it's 86 is your 86 or 80. 81 is what you needed. So you're sort of this thing is, you sort of just burst from behind as a flash of maybe like that azure-ish kind of light as you zip along. And you see that everyone back in the lab sees the sort of like sort of things going up. And Puck sort of steps forward to you, Roger. And Steve, we'll have you play Roger again here. He puts his hand on your shoulder, Roger, and she's like, this is safe, right?
Oh, sure.
I guess, and what you mean by that is like, are you going to be the one to tell her not to do it? And Puck sort of puts his hands up like, all right. We cut back outside and we see, you're making good space, but unless you spend karma, you're not going to be able to catch Jean-Paul.
No, I won't spend karma on that.
Yeah. Okay.
He's just much faster than I am.
Okay. And you hear another voice come over. This is one you recognize now. This is Uncle Jeremy. It says, all right, Red, if you've had enough fun painting, so letting everyone in Toronto know, in the greater Toronto area know that the suit is active, are you ready for some combat tests?
Let's roll. Let's see what this baby can do.
And we've marked on your area where you need to be. Go there and try and hit the buoys. And you see a display on your sort of head-up display off to the, say the left. It's about maybe like 3 miles or 4. Well, actually, at the speed you're traveling, good Lord, it's probably about maybe like 20 miles away. For those listening at home, if Lake Superior is not 20 miles across, then yeah, sorry. I didn't check that shit beforehand. But you sort of arc to the side and you start making your way over towards that area. And that's when you hear, another explosion, not an explosion, like a crack behind you, Heather. And Jean-Paul is suddenly now drifting next to you. He says, is the race done? You give up?
Yes, I give up.
I win again. When he zips in, he's suddenly gone. And he's actually like flying on his back too. Like it's as if he's drifting backwards looking at you and then boom, boom, he's suddenly gone.
She whispers to herself, yeah, but let's see you do this. And then she'll unleash the test. Nice.
That's awesome. Okay, so why don't you give me an agility roll? This is arranged. I'm assuming you're testing your blasters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Give me a agility roll, please.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Yeah. So what do we see as she unleashes these incredible force blasters?
I think that the same sort of deep blue shimmer, it almost radiates from the suit and then back to her hands, and this blast sort of comes off there, and once it leaves the suit, it just sort of goes to the barely visible again, and it's just this ripple of
Nice.
Force.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this wave of force. Yeah.
Okay, so the damage that it does is incredible. Force damage, up to 10 areas away. So you got a pretty good range on it, and it hits with this fucking like Mack truck force. Boom! Explodes. And we see we won't keep rolling for them, but we see you kind of, testing some of these things. Now, maybe it makes the same kind of sound effect we saw on that first one too, as it hits.
And I think that we had actually brought a couple of targets out here before the flight that I'm shooting at. So there's like an old truck or an old bulldozer or something,
Sure.
like a few targets to actually see what it can do.
Yeah, like on an old barge or something like that.
Yeah, like she's not just shooting the earth.
No, I was picturing like buoys, floating out there. But yeah, I love the idea of a barge too. Okay, so then you hear over the comm. All right, they seem to be good. How's the targeting? Red?
Targeting's good. Everything's coming up good.
Box just kind of looks back. He's like, "Of course it's good. I designed it." He shakes his head, and
Takes a whole team, Box.
the field's holding up well, Walt. And then Jeremy said, or Uncle Jeremy says, "All right, then, are you ready to? We've got 2 more tests to go. The structural integrity field. Are you ready to test that?
Let's do it."
So there is you sort of zip over and land down, on that kind of superhero landing on one knee on one of the barges. And there is a car on there. And now what is your strength in the Vindicator suit?
I
think it's remarkable, isn't it?
Does it say on the sheet somewhere?
On the Vindicator sheet, yeah.
Oh, I don't have the Vindicator sheet open. That's why.
Okay, yeah, it's got all.
Okay, here we go. Oh, is that where I was supposed to be rolling these things?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple stats that were changed when you're in the Vindicator suit.
She's remarkably strong in the Vindicator suit.
Nice. Okay, so remarkably strong is about 1 ton at max. Well, actually, you can know if you get from 800 pounds or less is a green feat, strength feat. 800 to 1 ton is a remarkable, so it's a yellow feat.
Yeah.
And 1 to 10 tons is a red feat. So this thing is going to be 1 ton or less. You ready to try and lift a car?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you get down. Give me a strength feat, please, and you need to make a yellow result. So it looks like you need a 71 or higher. No, 66 or higher. Whoa! Yeah. So what does it look like as she lifts this thing up?
I think it's quite effortless for her. She's expecting it to. You know how you're lifting something, you think it's going to strain your muscles, but in the end, the suit's doing absolutely all the work, and it's just so effortless that she sort of surprises herself.
Okay, so you lift this thing up, and you can picture you've got this old, taxi. You're just holding up over your head, and you kind of laugh as you're holding this thing up. What do you want to do? Give me a second. I think let's quickly look up the throwing rules just so we can learn that as well. So throwing is boom. Oh, doesn't give us here we go. Strength. That's your leap. Well, I can't find it immediately, so let's just range table 25. Range tables resolved on the thing. So the range modifiers are the limits of distance a weapon can travel. They're dependent on the thrower's strength. So with a remarkable strength, it's 4 areas. You could throw this thing.
Wow. So
Yeah.
she hurls the car.
Yeah, so you just, it goes flying up in the air and then splashes down into the water of Lake Superior. And Bach says, Heather, that's still littering.
She turns and fires a blast at it.
Explodes out. And Bach kind of like shrugs his fingers. He's like, and now that's polluting.
If you've got the rules open, how far could somebody with monstrous strength throw it?
Oh, mama. Monstrous strength, 7 areas.
Nice.
Yes.
That's, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Super strong guys are fucking cool in this game. It's really cool. Okay, so the this suit seems to be working out really, really well. One last thing to test, and that is, of course, your tunneling. Are you ready to stress test the tunneling?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you sort of half dive, half fly. You sort of dive, and then your momentum of the flight splashes you underneath the water. There's a field that comes up over your face. Doesn't cover you altogether, but sort of similar. If you can picture what comes over Captain Marvel's face in the film, I'm picturing that being something similar.
Yeah,
It's up to you. Do you think it would seal altogether, so it'd be a perfectly white kind of cowl, or do you think it would be transparent?
I think it's white.
It's white. Okay, cool. So it's completely disappears, and we can see your eyes narrow, and then you hit the floors. What do you call the seabed of Lake Superior, and then you're down and into it. You have to slow down quite a bit to make your way through. But you have a tunneling. I believe it's 3 areas per round you can move through, and it's just like the suit that Mac used, where it seals behind it. So it disturbs the earth and whatnot, but it's able to move its way through under, and then burst up into. Why, you tell me, like, how long do you think you stay under? Where do you think you burst up?
I think she starts traveling under the ground sort of as fast as she can get, and then, a few seconds later, or however far that is, then bursts out.
Okay. If you really want to make a dramatic appearance, we sort of, you go underneath the ground, right? And then we cut away back to the beaches where those 2 kids were saying, like, it's Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
There's some other guy who's made this, like, this sort of like sand, sculpture thing. And it's fucking obscene. It's like a, big-breasted mermaid who's kind of like, it looks like the kind of thing that would belong on the side of a 70s van.
Yeah.
Airbrushed. And he kind of is like, and then we see, boom, you explode up through it, sending sand flying everywhere. And then the kid who saw you before kind of points up again, and now he says, Iron Woman.
I'll let that go.
Well, you could pick up on it if you want to correct him. Vindicator is what your name is.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, she'll fly back down and land beside him.
Yeah.
And say, actually, it's Vindicator. Nice to meet you.
These kids are just like, wow! They're super thrilled. So they're looking at your suit, and the little girl says to you, "Did you make that?"
Yes, I did. Me and my friends.
She's like, wow! And then you kind of take off into the sky, and I think it's at Uncle Jeremy's prompting. He's like, "Red, if you're done pressing the flesh, we'd like to run some diagnostics on that."
Okay.
Okay, you fly up and you make your way back. So as we sort of cut, we see you sort of zip across the that same industrial park that we saw before. You hit the skylight, and then you hit down. And what do you see, or what do you do as you land?
She just takes the helmet off, or the cowl or whatever, and is just like That was amazing, guys.
Everyone is sort of cheering and clapping, you know.
And then they're all excited, and then she says, "Mac would have been so happy," and then it sort of takes a slightly down turn.
Yeah, and then Puck walks over to you, you know, and gives you a big hug, and he's like, "Mac would be so happy. I'm sure he'd be so proud for you."
And then she says, "And he will be happy one day when we find him."
Puck nods. It's like, "Damn right." Steve-O and Arlen, what do Walt and Box do? What's their reaction to all this?
I think Walt, he's just, he's going around, he's fist bumping, he's high fiving, and he comes up to Heather and he says, "Not every day a superhero is born, but
Nice.
it's a good day when it happens."
How I foresee, or first, Steve, do you want to add anything with that Roger does?
No, Roger's pretty pleased with himself. He's reaching for the booze already.
I was looking at he rolls over to the mini fridge, throws it open, and there's a bunch of like Molson, whatever the fuck, Molson Canadians.
Of course, that's awesome.
Yeah. And start passing, so everyone's passing around beers. Actually, fuck that. Molson Canadian's fucking awful. It's Moosehead. Moosehead beers being passed around.
Yeah, Moosehead's much better.
Moosehead's much better, yeah. So everyone's cracking open beers and celebrating. What's that, Steve?
Sorry, Molson. YouTube's gonna deplatform us now because of that.
It's a powerful Molson consortium. It's like that castle from Strange Brew. They're like, cease their YouTubery. Okay. So then you guys all sort of are celebrating. This is some pretty, impressive. Like, what a day. Jeez. And then you see from the same skylight, Jean-Paul comes back down and lands, and then sort of unzips his, his suit, exposing his muscular chest. And he says, "Well, it did not blow up." And that's about as close to a compliment you're going to get from Jean-Paul at this point.
No, everything went perfectly.
He walks over and he sort of stands and looks down at Box and, waiting for a beer. You give him a beer, Box?
But of course. Okay,
so you hand one to him. He smiles and pops it. And then, he drinks it and then kind of leans back. And, he's a dick, but he's your dick, I guess. So I
imagine Walt might... Walt's a smart guy and a tough guy, and he probably was a bit of a dick when he was young with all of that. And I think he probably, puts his hand on his shoulder and sort of grips him for a second. And you can tell that he, he's grown out of that by now, but he knows what it's like to be young and powerful.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So he sort of, there's a little bit of a smile that goes its way across Jean-Paul's face. He's fighting it, but there's a bit of a, all right. He's happy for you guys, and everyone. And General Clark, Uncle Jeremy, he's clearly quite pleased. So he walks over and gives you a big hug, Heather, and says, "Let's get you out of that suit, and then we'll run some diagnostics and talk about the next steps." So with that, what we'll do is we're going to we'll do a cutscene, guys, and we'll take a quick break to grab some drinks and go to the washroom. What we do is we cut to this big, like, fucking tanker. It's a massive ship. There's cargo containers and whatever else that are on the side. And we see someone walking the decks. And this looks like it's he's not dressed in, he's not a captain or whatever else. He's just a seaman, or sailor, making his way down the deck, and he's smoking. And we can see that there's, he gets to sort of near the front of this massive sprawling ship. And what we can see off in the distance is you can see that there's a coast off on one side, and it's making its way down this fairly large waterway. And what we see in the white lettering, we see St. Lawrence Gulf off the Canadian coast, Canadian East Coast. And this guy sort of is walking along, and he's smoking his cigarette and looking out at the the kind of the ocean, and we hear this clank, 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 and he kind of looks, around, and he keeps hearing this, and it sounds like now there's more prank, 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 prank. There's a bunch of the sound of something sort of smashing, or like metal on metal kind of stuff. But it's a sound of like ball peen hammers hitting up against like a metal plate of some kind. Plank, 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 plank. And he's looking around on the deck, and he kind of like looks behind some of these little whatever you call them, like not the smokestacks, but like the things that stick up on deck. And he looks over, and he realizes that sound is coming from overboard. So he makes his way over to the second here, to the side, and then he sort of his mouth opens, and the cigarette drops away from it, and he runs away, and he's yelling in I think German. Let's say he's yelling in German, "Alarm! Alarm!" And the camera finally, as you know, traces him kind of running down the deck towards the sort of not for the forecastle or whatever the sort of cabin is called on a that big of a ship. And the camera then pans back down, and what we see is there's about 6 figures crawling their way up the side of the ship. Plank, their claws going in, plank, plank, and going up. And they look like this, guys. And as we cut away, let's take a quick break. We'll refresh our drinks and see what the fuck is going on when we get back. Okay, so like 3 to 5 minutes, guys.
Yeah.
Sick.
All right. Oh, boy. You know, for whatever reason, I'm going to try refreshing the cameras again because I've lost Jeff's camera as well, which is weird. Let's see. There you go. You're back, Jeff.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. Man, oh man. So we got in chat. Walter's in chat. Hey, Walter. Hardest working DM in the planet. Wow, I'm not sure about that. But I appreciate the kind words. And it's certainly not work if you're enjoying it. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the different approach on this too. We were actually talking before we went live that this is a lot of games I used to run were a little more heavily scripted, like this one, where we're doing a little more, focus on narrative, and I take a little bit of a heavier hand in directing the story. But it's been really, really fun getting back to this style of play rather than the open sandbox I've been running the last I don't know, year or so. How are you enjoying it, Jeff?
This game is fun. The abilities are extremely abstract, which is interesting, but and because everything is a D100, it's like the chance of failure is sort of this huge window all the time.
Yeah, I've been thinking about ways of potentially like giving ways to play with the dice mechanics, because there's other games that that give things like flipping dice, where you can flip the numbers on the dice. So Zweihander does that, where like, if you rolled a 27, you could spend a resource to flip the dice to be a 72 instead.
Oh, that's interesting. You could still use your karma to do that.
Yeah, and then if you had a more limited thing, maybe I could be spending karma to do that too. One thing I didn't do between the last two different sessions was to award you guys the karma that you would have got.
Right.
From the last session. But you should have had a good, where is it here? Karma awards. Karma. You should have had a fatter pool of karma to draw on now. I'm also not sure. This game was written in 84 was the basic set, and then the advanced set came out in 86. So it made some changes to the rules. But I mean, like it's an old game, right? It's an old school game, and it doesn't have some of the more like the sensibilities of modern games, where you're allowed. Makes it easier for you to try new things with your powers, and DC Adventures or Mutants Masterminds, you guys fairly regularly stunt powers with that. It costs you a certain resource to do that, but that is reflective of, I think, how modern comics are written as well. And I like that. Like, right. You can't like turn your blast into a healing ray, but I mean, like doing something like, adjusting the pulse so it blasts out, into an area rather than just in a straight beam. That's kind of a cool stunt, and letting you try that without having to spend a fuck ton of karma and make a red feat result. I think is more consistent with what I kind of want to let you guys, the freedom that I want to see you guys have with the powers.
Well, it's built into Savage Worlds superheroes, where you spend a penny and you turn your power into something else. Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, the superhero. So the Savage Worlds superhero or Supers Compendium or whatever Superpowers Compendium is the second edition of it is fucking great. It's a really cool take on supers. One of the things I really love about that too, not to get lost in a different game here, but I love that in that particular game that your character's superpowers are separate from your other abilities. So like it allows you to see advancement with characters and give out regular experience points and shit like that without having to worry about them suddenly going from being the Teen Titans to being members of the Justice League.
Yeah, right.
Really clever. But yeah, so okay, Steve-O, are you back?
I don't see him.
Oh, Steve's got to hit the sack. So Shaman will not be in this rest of the scene. Yeah, no problem, Steve. You got to get up early for work tomorrow. That is okay.
Hey, sorry, dude. Yeah.
See you, man.
See ya.
Until next time.
Okay.
Looking forward to next. Take care, guys. Good night.
Yeah, no Steve.
Problem. We'll pick up with Shaman and Michael at another time. So what we see instead, guys, is there's that point, the thing. We cut away from that and we cut back to the lab. And what is going on in here is you guys are sort of Box and Walt and Heather are running diagnostics on what's going on. Jean-Paul is off doing something else. Puck is obviously off doing something else as well too. And Yeah, this is we can. She's wearing something completely different. She's got glasses on. Her hair's all pulled back, and she's crunching away. You think that maybe? Well, give me the. Let's see here. Heather, give me a reason feat, please. +1 column shift.
Reason.
Oh, great. Okay. So, what do you think it is that she sees in the diagnostics that she's gonna like? Oh, we could use this to, to make some kind of improvement or to deal with a problem that I saw the first time out. Like, it's not going to be like a new power or something like that. It'll be
right.
I don't know, like maybe like the
I think it's you know what, actually, Kev, I think it's just a UI thing that she's noticed, and how when checking the diagnostics, she can sort of see something in the numbers that isn't being shown on screen that would help her while she's piloting.
Okay. So yeah,
So
Roger can rework that for you.
right, like, well, if we could output this, then that would be really helpful.
Yeah. Hold on, and he sort of like taps away, and the display now sort of goes up on yours, the sort of sample thing, and it looks it looks like it's going to work. And then the what do you call it? The door to the lab opens, and in walks Uncle Jeremy, or General Clark to. There we go. Oh, you know what? I just realized this is something new. The handouts automatically go in alphabetical order.
Do they? That's
it looks
cool.
like the characters do as well.
Huh.
That's interesting because it didn't do that before.
No, it didn't, because it was manual sort order before, wasn't it?
Yeah. Huh. Oh, I wonder if you can toggle that on or off. So again, this is what General Clark is played by Kiefer Sutherland, Canadian Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah, as much as I could, I did try and stick with Canadian castings on it too.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So the he walks in, and Walt, you're working away there too, and Clark says, Lankowski, can we have the room for a moment?
Yeah, all right. Don't need to tell me twice.
Okay. So you head out, and he says if there is like some other text or whatever else, he's like, everybody give us the room, and everyone sort of finishes whatever they're doing and heads out. Heather and Box, you kind of look back and forth like, this is weird. And Clark's got a look on his face that looks like he's got bad news to break, and he doesn't really want to do it. He's in uniform as well too. Like he every time you interact with him now, he's wearing his official greens. And as once everyone kind of gets out, Clark says, "All right, I got some news that you're not going to like, but you're just going to have to take it." The Oversight Committee has assigned us with the move from Alpha Flight into a public sphere. They feel that we need a liaison to assist with that. And we're going to have they've brought someone in who they felt had experience in this area. He's kind of.
Do
you see it?
Good. Just spit it out.
It's Jerry Jackson.
Oh God.
And,
assuming my character knows who he is.
Yeah, both. You may remember Jerry Jackson was, of course, the
Lumpy Pants.
Lumpy Pants.
Oh yeah, Lumpy Pants.
Yeah. So knowing who it is now, what's your reaction?
Well, I'm sticking with my oh god.
What's Arlen? Why don't you play Box's reaction? What's Box's reaction to this?
I think he's he's normally a pretty jovial guy, but you can see the cheery red face just drains of color.
Yeah.
And I don't think he says anything. You can see on his face that he's seriously distressed.
Well, seriously, I mean, like, this is the guy who.
Well, this is the guy who put him in a wheelchair, basically.
Yeah.
And he's the one who knows it best because he's the one who hacked the phone. So yeah, but I don't know that he says anything. Just
sure, yeah. I mean, his silence would say a lot too, just with how we've kind of established Box's character. So, so Clark says, is this going to be a problem with either of you?
Well, it's going to be a problem, but we can handle it.
All right, then.
What do you want us to say?
Let's call with him talking about publicity, or sorry, he'll be coming by tomorrow for a presentation to have us bring up to speed with the full team. I just wanted to give you a heads up and see if this is going to be a problem.
Outside of character action, does Walter know about?
I don't know. Like, do you guys think that Heather? I mean, like, what's happened in the interim between the time is there's basically been, because of the specialized knowledge that Box and Heather had with respect to the the Guardian project, and because Box did do a pretty damn good job of of covering his tracks or stealing the schematics and stuff like that and all the research. And because Roxanne didn't want to admit, they just said it was a what do you call it? A faulty gas main that destroyed everything. They denied. There was no evidence when the independent investigators went out. There was no RCMP found no trace of any kind of military shit in there. So basically, because neither side could really prove what happened, and because they needed the Department H was particularly interested in developing the Guardian suit, which now is called the Vindicator suit. They disagreed to let you guys work and just no criminal charges, no harm, no foul. It seems also that there may have been some other agreement on Roxanne's end.
Well, I was going to say, I think if Walter doesn't know, Box might tell him. Okay.
So let's do that scene. So let's, unless Jeremy or Uncle Jeremy, unless there's anything else you want to say to Uncle Jeremy about this, we can end this scene here. He'll leave, and then once everyone kind of comes back in, Walt could kind of come in and say, well, what's up? Everyone's out, and you come back in, and Walt, you can definitely take the temperature of the room as soon as you come back in, and you worked alongside Heather and Box long enough to know what the hell was that all about?
Yeah, it was a pretty good day up until this point.
What do you mean?
It was a good day up until this point.
Walt kind of looks back and forth at you guys. What's going on?
We have a problem.
What's that?
Let's just say, how does your furry friend feel about eating backstabbing bastards?
And who would be the backstabbing bastard that I'd be eating?
That would be the one that they've just assigned to be our public liaison. His name is Jerry Jackson. and he's a real piece of shit.
Okay, he says a public liaison. What have we? And he's kind of look. He's taken aback by this. He looks over at you, Heather, as if like trying to find an answer.
He was our shitty boss when we were at Roxxon, and he may have been the one who sold us out and cost us Mac.
May have.
Yeah.
No, may have about it.
Well, obviously our proof was, not enough to go to the police, but in our minds, it's 100%.
Hold on. So I'm going to guess that you guys haven't told Walt the full truth of what kind of happened at,
No, so then we'll sort of
Alright,
replay the
so yeah.
story of
Yeah,
the
so we're
last
going to cut
session.
to you guys in like there's going to be a lounge somewhere in this building as well too. So it's later at night and it's just the three of you guys sitting around and Puck, sitting around, and we're sort of cutting into the scene as you guys finish telling the whole story. Unless you guys want to tell, like what's your interpretation of what happened? Actually, that does sound interesting. Let's hear what you guys say. How do you guys? So Walt sort of sits down, gets beers in front of everyone, and you guys can feel free to jump between Arlen. You can jump between Puck and Box if you want. And so Walt.
I think Heather starts out with just
yeah,
everything was going good with the testing. We were celebrating, having drinks on the roof of the facility, as would be expected. And Mac went to the lab for something. We don't really know what. And at that point, we were attacked by, was it 10 or a dozen?
half dozen
Soldiers of some sort with automatic weapons, and we luckily fought them off, but in our panic to flee, something went wrong with the suit, and that's when Mac disappeared.
I just realized it was Puck who figured out that Mac wanted to propose, not Heather. And it sounds like he hasn't told Heather.
no.
Should he tell her now?
Oh, so
man.
to help you in your decision, one of the interesting things in the comics is that Puck kind of like really develops a thing for Heather after Mac dies. You can choose to incorporate that into the MCU version if you like, or you can ignore it, or whatever you like. He's been spending 3 years kind of being like her protector and whatnot.
You know what? I like it. Let's tell her. So as Puck,
Yeah.
It wasn't just a random something that he was going for. He was going to be a special day for all of us until the horrible events with the stormtroopers.
You see, like you can picture him, like he's rubbing his head, like he just is.
Yeah,
he's
trying to figure out how to say it in a way that, I mean, how could you say something like that in a way that isn't going to sting like a bitch?
Does Heather sort of cue? Like, do you think she cues in, or you want to make an intuition roll and just kind of like let that dictate their Steve?
I think she's waiting for him to say it. She's sort of intuitioned what he's gonna say, but she wants him to say it at this point.
Okay.
He wanted to propose at the end of the day.
How does that news hit Heather?
I think that she starts crying, but not like sobbing or whatever, but like tears are coming down her face, but she keeps having the conversation with Walter and Puck about what happened that night, and sort of just and so like goes back to it and says like, and now you see why we can't trust this man, and having him as a liaison for Alpha Flight is the worst thing that could have happened. So she's like sort of fighting through the tears.
Yeah. So Walt, what, do you think like Walt knows to not, like just to let her, like he's not going to like try and console her or anything like that? Is he knows just let her, if she doesn't ask for help to know it, or does he offer her like a tissue or something like that?
I think he pulls up a chair for her to, sit down into. But that's about it. And then I think it's Roger that he's more consoling with, because Roger is really having a bad time, of course, thinking about the time that he got shot and lost his lower half.
Yeah.
And I think it's their bond that's kind of closer, and so Walt's kind of
Sure. Yeah. And I think Box, I imagine, is like uncharacteristically quiet and
yeah.
Okay, so he Walt's sort of is sort of staring off into space, and how does Puck react to the news that Jerry Jackson is going to be your new public liaison?
I think Puck, we can see kind of almost unconsciously, he's just back and forth, kind of cracking and straining his knuckles, and you can see him sort of going through as if he was going to get in a fist fight in the next few minutes, just, and clearly not thinking about it. That's just, he's a fighter. He just does that when he's nervous.
Yeah. I love it. So, having heard that, what is Heather? Does Heather continue on?
Yeah, I think she's just fighting through this whole thing and trying to really explain to him the dangers of lumpy pants. I don't know if you don't know. That's all I know. What is it?
Jackson?
Oh yeah, Jackson.
Okay.
That's funny.
So does Box say anything as you're sort of bringing Walt up to speed on this?
You see what I mean, Walt?
Walt kind of nods. So does Box? Well, I know I don't know if Box is like in a bragging kind of mood to try and like say that he hacked his phone and whatnot. But
is he left like a back door that he could get back into his phone real easily?
I
guess if it's been years.
Yeah, like once they realized that they wiped the mainframe, I imagine that they did a complete overhaul of their security.
Yeah.
It was because he worked so quickly, because he, while still in the hospital bed, Box hacked the Roxxon mainframe, and that's the reason that you guys were able to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
He might try. Box is a fucking computer genius.
Yeah, let's try again.
Okay, so once he sort of gets to the point, he's I imagine, like, because he's on a wheelchair, he can probably reach down and pull some kind of like laptop or something or other out.
Yep.
He starts tapping away on it. Walt says, "So, how do we handle this guy then?"
I think the only way we can, which is compartmentalize what he knows and never give him all of the information as best we can.
Okay.
Maybe use this opportunity to see what his character's like, and maybe he's changed, but if not, maybe we can entrap him in some kind of a crime. Not entrap him, but discover some kind of a crime.
Sure. Okay. So, so a 36 reason.
36, and I should get +1 column shift because of computers, and I'm going to spend some karma to boost it up to yellow.
Okay. All right. So what I think this will be is you're not able to necessarily hack his phone or anything like that, but what you're able to sort of track down through, like, you probably set up some kind of algorithm or something like that to do internet search or something. What you're able to find out over the course of the evening is that Jackson is still an employee of Roxxon, but he has also been a special liaison to the Canadian government, particularly the Department of Defense for. Actually, I don't know. Department of National Defense, I think, is what we call it in Canada. And is that right, Jeff? Am I imagining things here, or I think it's Department of National Defense? Actually, I don't need to look it up right now.
I'm not sure 100% the name.
So I think it's the Department of National Defense, and he has been. You're not able to necessarily track down what specifically, like what he's been assigned to. Wow, with a yellow, that would be up to an amazing result. I think so. So, he's been with Department H for at least a year. So the fact that he's being assigned here now is, this isn't like he's been brought in from outside. He's been with Department H in some capacity for the last year. If you went further, you're going to have to gain access to sort of there's not like wireless or internet access for some of the more secure shit. You'd actually have to break into places to get access to those. But yeah, I mean, I think that you have likely, long sort of suspected or long known that there's more going on. Department H is effectively, you can think of it as like the Canadian equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's where all the special projects go on. It's where, all the secret kind of, crazy shit that's been happening over the last couple of years is tracked. And the secret projects that it runs are as well kind of off, hidden well within different kind of silos and stuff within Department H.
We probably have had this discussion as characters, but is Heather our team leader? Is Walt? Is
the head of the
Shaman or
head of the project is technically what do you call it? General Clark?
No, I mean like as a super team.
Oh, is a super team? Yes. Oh yeah, it's Heather.
Okay.
Heather is still.
That's what I figured. But
yeah, in spite of the what do you call it? The Mac was the team lead before. Heather was the natural successor for it because Walt has helped out a fair amount with the with slight improvements to the physics design of the suit. But I mean, it's really Mac's genius that set that stuff up. But Heather's the one who really kind of built all the infrastructure around in it. Roger built the interface, the cerebral interface for it. But I mean, she's also So what
she's the natural kind of center for our character collective, it seems like, too.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So, knowing that you've got that meeting tomorrow, anything else you guys want to, anything else you want to talk, deal with in this, sort of, airing, not airing, but like showing skeletons and stuff like that?
Does Walt have, so his transformation is at will. Does he have like partial transformation-y stuff that happens sometimes? Like when in I'm thinking especially in Thor Ragnarok, when Mark Ruffalo gets angry and you see the green veins and he doesn't turn all the way, but he gets a little bit Hulk-like.
Oh, you've actually got complete control. You become Sasquatch when you want it.
Okay, but
I think that the way Walt, it's an interesting question. So let's talk about what Walt's, because we haven't seen him manifest yet. But so what Walt's powers are is basically imagine effectively like a controlled Hulk transformation, but instead of turning into a big green, gamma monster, you turn into a giant orange furry creature that, let me make the handout for this. Yeah, but that is, I mean, it looks like a kind of like a giant, giant Sasquatch.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. So one of the things that is, obviously there's what Sasquatch looks like in the comics, and I think that he would translate well to like the sort of Marvel Cinematic Universe pretty easily.
Yep.
And the thing that I particularly love about this character design that I think would carry over is the kind of like simian build to him.
Yeah.
Like when John Byrne is the one who created him, and he draws him the best. And the way he moves is almost like chimpanzee-like. He's like a giant, he sort of his arms kind of propel himself along, and he's got those shorter legs, and he's got the prehensile feet as well. So it's like a giant orange, super strong chimp, creature.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the thing is, he's like 9 feet tall in Sasquatch form too. So it's like it tears clothes and shit like that when he transforms, but it's completely under your control.
Well, maybe we don't see, because I guess if it's completely under control, I'm wondering if we just see like the hairs start to stand up on the back of his hands, like the very beginnings of the transformation into Sasquatch as he's getting mad.
Here's one of the things where Banner is driven by rage in his thing. None of that is present in Sasquatch.
None of that. Okay.
You're completely yourself. You could theoretically work as Sasquatch,
Oh,
things.
Yeah.
If you're so inclined. The thing is, it's a fucking 9 foot tall hairy monster.
Yeah. So not great for normal interaction, but
no,
yeah.
It's you wouldn't fit through hallways and shit like that. But I mean, like, and I think Walt takes it as like, man, like, I need Banner back in college, and like, he's a good guy, but like, he probably didn't carry the 2, and stuff like that, or he missed a decimal point or something like that. You're assuming that you just improved on it. What's happened with your character as well too, just as backstory, and we're going to see more of this on screen at some point, but you were struggling with this, and it wasn't until someone supplied you with basically all the data about Banner's work as well as some additional insight on it, and you were then able to work that stuff. What we saw at the opening, the cold open there, with you sort of plugging the laptop, is that you made all that shit fit to your genetics. So it was using the sensor data that was present from Banner's transformation from his test, as well as some other subsequent tests, including tests of his genetic material, that somehow made its way to you. And then you use those insights to, the things you had been working on, to create your own, transformation process. And you think you just did it right. Banner just did an incomplete one. Oh, I think we lost your audio. There, Arlen. I see you talking, but I don't hear you. Oh, we lost you in the stream, actually. Now you're back.
Okay.
Did you? Oh, you wouldn't have heard me then either. So yeah, like you just thought it was that you just did a better job of setting up the experiment than what Banner did.
Yeah. Oh, and that's probably part of why it was in that comic panel that you showed me on Twitter, why it would be special to meet Captain America, since Banner was trying to replicate the super soldier serum and all that.
Yeah, it's interesting in the MCU. It's really not clear what Banner was.
Yeah, because they don't do that sort of thing in the MCU. But
between the Ang Lee film and the second one, and the one with what's his name, Ed Norton, they sort of give you that cutscene intro in the title sequence, but they don't really make it clear what he was actually trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not clear. Maybe that's what he was doing. Probably that's what he. Oh wait, hold on. No, I think they do make reference to that, because isn't that why they're able to get what's his name, that they get Blonsky to turn into the Abomination. I think they make there's maybe a passing. I'll have to I'll watch it again.
Yeah. But no, but I'm just thinking, because that would be an interesting kind of character connection if he's thinking that I'm sort of the perfected version of the rediscovered thing that was what. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, all of that aside, I think Walt's reaction is team player, defer to Heather's leadership
Okay.
for what we're going to do about Jackson.
Okay. So, unless there's anything else you guys want to do that evening, we'll cut to the next day, and what we see is you guys sort of sitting around. We cut from this like relaxed scene in a in a lounge with everyone sitting around to now it's sort of a match cut over to this styed kind of like sterile boardroom, and you guys are all there. You're dressed a lot more professionally now. This is sort of like a meeting with the boss kind of stuff, except for Puck. Puck is still dressed the same way he always is.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let me pull up Jean-Paul. And
although I'm thinking Walt his tie might be a Houston Texans tie.
I love it. Yeah. That's great. Okay, so where is he here? Where are you, Jean-Paul? So Jean-Paul's there as well. He's not particularly dressed up. He's just maybe he's dressed sort of like I think he's probably quite the fashion plate. Just maybe dressed similar to how he is in how Ezra Miller is in the in the picture, and he's sort of sitting back, and General Clark is in with you guys as well too. And then the last, we sort of see you guys exchanging some like tense, looks with each other. And then the door opens, and of course, in walks Jerry Jackson, again played by Jason Clark. So he walks in, and he looks around at you guys. Says he's dressed in a like impeccable, expensive dark suit with a tie and a tie pin. And he walks in. He's got that 5 o'clock shadow, stylish 5 o'clock shadow kind of thing, and he looks around and he says, "Box, McNeil, very long time. Good to see you again." He flashes that same grin that he had before.
Just a cold stare from Heather.
And he looks over at Box. And you can see he doesn't make the, "Oh, don't get up for me" joke, but you can see like he's got that smug fucking look on his face as if he was going to make that joke to Roger. And he's like, "All right, we got my team together. Let's talk about what we're going to do about Project Guardian." Now, he hits a button and this PowerPoint thing goes up. Heather, you just heard him say it. Remember, this is Project Vindicator, not Project Guardian. Do you want to say anything, or do you let that go?
Probably just let it go.
Okay. So he hits this thing up. He's like, "All right, we've been getting some good press from the last from Vindicator's actually he says because of Guardian's flyby yesterday, and it's good. We've got some not only some viral footage, but we've also got some print media and some and as he's hitting, he's showing things are flying up on this. Again, he's giving you the wrong name there, Heather. That this is, it was, well, let me ask you this. What do you think the thought process was behind changing the name? Why did Heather pick this Vindicator as the name of the project? Because she would have been the one who chose the change from Guardian to Vindicator.
Well, I think she just wanted to distance it from the Roxxon project.
Okay.
Well, and does it have anything to do with this eventual dream to rescue James from
maybe
wherever he got transported?
Yeah.
That it's not just a protector anymore, it's a restorer.
Right.
Okay. So with that in mind, do you I mean, does that sort of
I think she's just shooting him freaking daggers, but she's not saying anything.
Okay. She says, and with the that's good. I think we're primed to make our actual debut for Alpha Flight, and within a couple of months, once Alpha Flight, the world is still coming to terms with the events of New York and the formation of the Avengers. And he hits a button, and you can see sort of scenes from the Battle of New York and the outcome afterwards too. Some sort of press photos and shit like that of the Avengers themselves. Still coming to terms with the events of New York. Once they get used to the idea of Alpha Flight, we can start introducing the roster for Beta Flight and Gamma Flight as well. And Clark doesn't really see anything. You guys have never heard of Beta Flight and Gamma Flight,
right?
So he unless you guys say anything, he just carries on. And once we, after 6 months, we begin rolling out these members of Beta Flight and Gamma Flight as well. And then we, and he kind of carries on with the presentation. There's really not, he covers sort of broad strokes of sort of like the press pitch that's going to come with this. And it's clearly just a like marketing kind of idea, and one thing that may be of interest is the idea of developing further he calls them Guardian suits, a new Guardian. Does that prompt a response out of Heather or Roger?
This
is also news to you. The idea that department.
She whispers under her breath to Roger. She says, "Over my dead body."
I think this is when Walt pipes up and says, "If we're going to have new teams, we should be clear that they're Vindicators, not Guardians."
He looks over at you, and then looks over at Heather, and is Heather just staring back at him right now?
100%. Just pure daggers just the whole time.
He kind of holds, like kind of taking a measure of you for a moment or two, and then he goes like, "Of course, Vindicator, old habits." Once we introduce the Vindicator, the Vindicator brand will become a signature, much like the Americans can have their Iron Man. We'll have Iron Men. And he kind of nods towards you, women. Now, and he kind of goes on, and unless there's like something you guys want to interject for it, that's sort of the way the scene pays out. We can just cut to like Heather throwing the door open, storming out. Roger,
like literally as soon as he's done talking, she leaves.
Yeah, so she storms out. Rogers, comes rolling out behind, followed by Puck, sort of trying to push past Box, and then Walt comes out as well. And Jerry's trying to sort of like, shake everyone's hand obviously like, Puck and Heather and Roger is not going to. He stops and says, "Lankowski, I saw you play for the so is it the Texans that you said you played?
Yeah, Houston Texans.
Yeah. How'd you play for the Texans? I lost $50 on a bet with you.
Shouldn't have bet against me.
He extends his hand. He's like, "Good to have you on the team."
I'm gonna do the macho dick thing and try to crush it.
Yeah. Give me a so it'll be on Walt's sheet. Give me a
not on
Sasquatch.
That would be my strength is still 10 as Walt, so
good. You're not a chump.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh, that's awesome. So you start like fucking crushing, and you've got probably like a good like at least 3/4 of a head on Jackson. So he kind of like and he's trying to not lose face and pull his hand away. But is that a red result or is that a
That's a yellow.
yellow? Okay, yeah. So he can't you're gonna let go of his hand when he's gonna get his hand back when you choose to give it back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't get to the point of actually breaking bones or anything, but it's pretty fucking close. And you let him go, turn, and you walk out. And the last thing we see is Jackson says, Bobier, good to have you on board as well, too. Bobier and Jean-Paul stops and he kind of ups and down him. And then he starts saying shit in French. And what you can only make out is merde and true de fesse and something else. True de fesse is asshole in French and merde is shit. Mm-hmm. This is the extent of the French I remember from high school was toi, which is fuck you, true de fesse, which is asshole, and merde, which is shit. So, and tabernacle, I guess, which is all the French Canadian curses are all something relating to the church. So, he makes his way out, and that leaves only Clark and Jackson, and we see them sort of exchange. They're staring at each other. Maybe there's a bit of a knowing look between them, but we cut away before we get there. So we know, cut to Heather bursts into the lab. What's she saying? She's now got a chance to blow off steam.
She is saying things like, the suit is still in an experimental phase. I really hope we don't have any tragic accidents at our next test. Just stuff like that. She is basically all but threatening to kill Jackson.
Yeah.
I think when Walt comes in, he says to Box, the furry friend doesn't actually eat people, right?
Box says, hey, is he willing to try?
Not for something as slimy as that.
And Jean-Paul kind of walks in at this point too, and he's still muttering to himself in French. And he's like, who is that asshole?
That is our new nightmare.
Did you... He's talking to Heather. Was this your plan?
My plan? I hate that man more than anyone on this earth. Why would I want him involved?
Well, why is he? I thought you were in charge.
So did I.
What are Walt and Puck doing during this? Puck, I imagine, is just probably letting Heather kind of blow off her, knowing that this is probably hitting her worse than him. But I like the idea of cracking his,
cracking his knuckles, and then also, I'd imagine.
Oh, we lost you there, Arlen. Hold on. Let's see. Oh. Let's see.
Excuse me.
Oh, he knows he's out as well too. Oh, hang us down, okay? Coming back. Okay, let's see where he's coming back. Man, it's crazy how much just how much role playing we've been doing in this campaign too.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Totally.
I'm back.
All right, you're back. So what is
right. So I think Puck is also, he's probably thinking this might be an opportunity to ingratiate himself a little more with Heather, to show that he is, if he can figure out some way to take care of Lumpy Pants, that he can be the hero for her.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So he's sort of like struggling with trying to figure out what he can do. It's about that point when you guys start hearing this kind of this klaxon, wow, 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 and you guys are all looking around like, what the that's never happened before. Wow. And you're all, I think each of you has on your cell phone, there's an app that's been installed on it, and you sort of look, and there's the Alpha Flight kind of symbol that is showing up on it. Like it's a call for basically this. You've never had this happen before. This is sort of like the rallying cry of this. And you've maybe tested this before. And Jean-Paul sort of looks at it and he's like, is this a malfunction?
No, I think it's suit up time.
Suit up. What did we? And the door sort of bursts open and Clark walks in, or General Clark comes in. And he's like, this is not a drill, folks. We've got our first call. And you all sort of look at each other, and what happens?
I think Heather runs to put her suit on.
Okay.
Yeah.
She, you race over and start getting yourself together. So the way it's sort of, I'm picturing the way you drilled is Box will be, because of his physical limitations right now, he's going to be sort of like the, Oracle or like, guy in chair.
Yeah.
Is that what was it that Ben Foster called it? Was it the guy at the computer in Spider-Man Homecoming?
Mm.
You need the guy in the chair. I'm going to be your guy in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
So Box, I guess, is your guy in the chair. And Puck is going to, potentially be involved. But I mean, like, he's a combatant, but he is a normal dude. Jean-Paul gets himself suited up. Heather, we sort of see that, what do you call it? The classic sort of you suiting up, kind of like, getting the gloves on, getting the suit on, pulling the cowl down, and then powering up the field. What does Walt know? What I'm kind of picturing is that either Jean-Paul or Heather is intended to deliver you to whatever, they'll fly you along. So maybe it's like a flight suit or something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking having some type of maybe almost like, I don't know. I'm thinking something a little bit can we have Sasquatch wear pants in the MCU version?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking that would be like have a essentially something like almost like Captain America's body armor just on his lower half.
Okay.
And then a sort of like disposable, just a thin layer on the top that just rips off as he transforms.
What about like kind of like not breakaway, but like expandable kind of like cargo pants?
Yeah. That sounds good.
That seams in it. That sort of like it would not be comfortable to wear for extended periods of time, but there's extra cloth that sort of folded in there, and then it tears out as you get big.
Yeah. I'm just thinking something he's got on a suit that is, it's not really armored, but it's designed to expand up with him to a certain degree.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Okay, so you get yourself all kitted up, and you got your like just the sort of Alpha Flight T-shirt on that you wear as you're getting ready. What you hear, and they're not wasting time. You can see there's some cell phone footage that is shown, and Clark, a Box, you're able to sort of display this on the big screen. And what it is where it's here, these things. Now, it doesn't look like these are, of course, the Chitauri troops that attacked New York. They haven't been seen anywhere else in the year since the. I was just checking the timeline on this. I think it's a year. Yeah. So the attack on New York is 2012. We're in about mid 2013 right now. So the attack on New York has happened. The attack on the Dark Elves that attacked London, that has happened as well too. So this is
but pre-Ultron.
Ultron has not happened yet.
Yes.
Ultron happens after Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Oh yes, of course.
Right. Yeah, because it opens with them hunting Hydra.
Yeah.
Right. So Winter Soldier is something next year.
Okay.
Yeah. So to give you a context of where all this shit's happening. So these things, what you're seeing images of they're very, very similar to that illustration. But what it seems like is, for one, these things are much bigger. They stand about, probably like close to the size that you are when you're full size, Sasquatch. And they are, there's a lot more metal to them. They've got this they've got that mask on there too, but then there's these like two bands that sort of like go around the side, and then one kind of probe or something that goes above the head as well, and then there is a big sort of protective plate that goes up around their back. So you can picture these things, but much stockier and a little bigger. I actually might try and do a sketch of it just to give you guys an idea what it looked like. That I could manage. A fucking photoreal illustration of the Guardian suit, that's a little beyond punching above my weight. But anyway, but these things are, what they can see is these things have they're just like tearing up the what do you call it, and firing. They're what do you call it, they seem to be blasting out with some kind of flame, jets at these these people on this ship. And you can hear Clark talking over this. General Clark says that this footage is an hour old. It's from a container or a ship called the what would be called? It'll be called the Murmansk. Yeah. No. What are we gonna call it? Let's call it the Aleutian. So the Aleutian is it's about it's entering the St. Lawrence Gulf, but we don't know the specific location for this. What we need to do is locate this and then deal with this. Whatever these are in Canadian waters, we need to find out what stuff stop these things from sinking that boat. If that thing goes down, that is a lot of oil going right into the that will wash up on the shores of Toronto, and we need to know what the hell these things are. If there's more, if what came through that hole or that gate in New York is back, we can't wait for the Avengers to deal with this. This is what we put Alpha Flight together for. Let's go. So we sort of see you guys getting ready. I think there is some kind of like, actually at this point there probably isn't. You guys can mostly fly, so there isn't like a Quinjet equivalent for Alpha Flight yet. I do know that there is a name for the ship, but I can't remember what it is right now. And I don't. It might be as simple as the Alpha Jet, but I think it has something. It's got a different name, I think. But I'll look it up between now and the next session. But yeah, that's that. Anything you guys do before you head out?
No, other than put the suit on, obviously.
Yeah, so you got your suit on. So Jean-Paul says, I'll find the ship. Catch up. Be quick. And he kind of takes up to the air and he's just suddenly gone. Like North Star in the comics, he moves at the speed of like the Flash. Mm-hmm. And you find he's suddenly gone and he's off. We see in the cinema version him flying along, his hair kind of whipping behind him as he's, making his way out to the coast. Walt, you're ready to go. You're as ready as you're going to be. You're ready to take to the air?
I am ready. Let's go.
So
let's run our sets.
All right. So let me just, I'm going to see if, I forgot to set up a map for this ship as well. And quickly see if there is something in premium assets that doesn't look like a long ship. Lots of cannons. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should look up tanker. No, I'm getting like Optimus Prime. Yeah, it's not helpful. Try one more thing here. And then if I cannot find anything, no results. That's ridiculous. Okay, so let's do this. So maybe go to this thing here, and I'll put your tokens on the side here just so we can kind of track what's going on, and we'll do it theater of the mind otherwise.
Yeah.
get. All right, so you guys, what do we see as you guys go flying through the air? Now you're obviously not in Sasquatch form yet because it's easier to it's easier to fly you as your normal size or at your Walt size. You're more aerodynamic as Walt. But I'll leave it to you, Jeff. Why don't you give us a quick narration of what sort of you see or what we see?
Well, I think we see the team head out on, basically their first mission, and everyone's nervous.
Yeah.
Like I guess it's nervous excitement. So, I think especially though, after what just happened, their enemies should be fearful of Heather's actions because she is quite upset.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, she's got some frustrations to take out here.
Absolutely.
Well, and we might have heard, I'm imagining in the film version, we heard pieces of the Alpha Flight theme when we were showing off the Vindicator suit, but this is the first time we hear the full thing, right?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Whatever
sure.
the Alpha Flight score is. Yeah, that's fucking great. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So we go flying out. Yeah, you guys go flying out. I'm just going to put some of these Chitauri. So I'm calling these the Chitauri dreadnoughts, incidentally. So you guys go, flying out, and you hear over the. I'm going to think you're flying for maybe about 15 minutes or so. Well, you move at 750 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, that's what you said before.
Yeah. So okay. So you're not as quick as Jean-Paul, but Jean-Paul, then you kind of hear him from over the comm. McNeil, I found them. You must hurry. There are many, and you sort of it pings on your head-up display where Jean-Paul is, or North Star, and so it's going to take you. I don't know. What'll it take you? What'll take you? Let's do this. Let's have you make a feat roll, and I'll pop this out just so you can remember it's there. There we go. You've got the universal table out. Give me a feat check of your flight. Let's see if you can boost those jets. So this will be Shift X you're rolling against.
And what's the?
You can roll anything. It's just the dice roll we're looking for.
Oh, I see. It doesn't matter what the.
Yeah.
Oh, nice roll.
Oh, that's fucking terrific. 87. Oh, that's red. Okay, so what do we see as you hit this speed faster than you've ever gone before?
I think that the again, the same sort of deep iridescent blue energy just ripples in a way we didn't see before when she took the suit out for the first flight.
Yep.
It sort of maybe even actually this, some of the tweaks they did or whatever, like it forms in front of her sort of this more aerodynamic shape. Before it was sort of this it was just forming around the suit in the shape of the suit.
Yep.
And now she's sort of got it more focused, and it's, like this fighter jet cone or whatever off her head, off the front of the suit, that she's sort of pulling herself behind. So
I love it. And what do we see with Walt when this happens?
I think he's I'm imagining him, he's got a sort of almost like a diving position, right?
Yeah.
Kind of pencil dive type thing, huddled up, I guess, on like a harness or something attached to the Vindicator suit. I don't know how he's being carried, but
yeah, I don't know. I think she's just carrying, like she can she got remarkable strength. I mean, she could, like, with very little effort, she can lift 800 pounds.
Okay.
So you're not you're not that difficult to sort of pick up. But yeah, it's like you've never moved this fast before. He's actually bumped the speed up to one higher, which is because it's so easy to look this shit up. Holy shit, 1,500 miles per hour.
So
Wow.
we actually have a sonic boom going.
Yeah,
now.
pow! Like you guys are flying over, and faster than you can see, or than you would have expected. You guys come across this, and it's the first thing you see as you're approaching the illusion is the tendrils of smoke coming up. And as you're getting closer, I think your heads-up display Vindicator shows that there's two of these massive Chitauri dreadnoughts going across the deck, and it looks like the crew is still trying to put up some kind of anti-boarding action thing. I mean, they're not doing it's like handguns and what do you call it, and just hoses. I think anti-boarding hoses that they've suddenly repurposed to try and take these things down, and it's slowing them down, but really doing nothing. You see one of the dreadnoughts sort of brings its arm up, and there's this something moves across, and then this massive spike launches out and skewers through one of the sailors. It doesn't kill them, but I mean, it looks like it was sheer luck that this guy was not outright killed with this one shot. You're coming down in one round. You can move at this speed. You can move I think 20 areas. So you could easily, we'll say you're zooming down into this. We won't go into initiative just yet, but what's the plan here? Are you going to deploy Sasquatch and have him sort of transform mid-drop or what?
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. So you fly over this, and are you dropping down into the area or on top of one of these dreadnoughts or what?
Which of us?
You, Sasquatch.
You, where do you want to be dropped, basically?
I want to be dropped straight on top of one of them.
Okay.
Nice.
Or maybe, since we're going so fast, maybe like a flying tackle. I just sort of, you basically drop me as you're flying by, and I just sort of grab one of them and go over the side with it.
That's awesome. So what I'll let you do is I'll give you, give me first off, what I would like is give me a really cool description of Sasquatch transforming for the first time, or the first time we see, at least, as he's falling down.
So we see Vindicator's holding on to him, and then her hands start to part as he's growing. He's taller, and he's got his shoulders widening out and his arms elongating, and all over the muscles are just bulging under his clothes, and then they rip away basically everything above his waist, and you can see is just covered in that bright orange fur, and he's it's a little bit I imagine that it's almost, since it's at will, it's almost like he focuses on one part of his body at a time. So we see sort of the shoulders bulge, and then the biceps bulge, and then the triceps bulge, and then and it kind of expands outward from the center. And so then he is
it looks
huge,
an enormously strong orange, almost chimp. And actually, looking at the thing, I'm sort of picturing that those shorts, they expand out, but it really looks like shorts. Goes from cargo pants to things that go down to his knee, and that's really it.
Yeah.
Now give me a fighting check on Sasquatch, please, or fighting feat.
Fighting feat.
Yes, please. And they're not aware, so I'll give you one column shift for that as well.
All right. So that is incredible at 66. That is a yellow result.
Nice. So you land and you grab one of these things, and this thing goes fucking flying out into the well off into the ocean. As it flies, there's a burst of flame, and then it lands in the ocean somewhere else. You loom up, 9 feet tall, as two of the other dreadnoughts on board kind of turn towards you.
And I think I'm going to shout to the since unlike the Hulk, I can do in control stuff. I'm Dr. Lankowski. I'm here to help.
Nice. So good. And what does Vindicator do as she sort of like zips around? This is the first time she's going into a firefight.
I think that she is like vindictive with her shots. Like she is just every single one of these things that she sees, she's just unloading the full power of the suit. She's not holding anything back.
Okay.
She's like, you know.
So we hear her the sound that we've heard from before, the cycling of the blast kind of going up. There's that azure energy appearing around her hand. Sasquatch is ready to go racing in to engage these things, and we'll find out what happens next.
Nice.
We have a post-credit scene though. So as we, so we sort of cut away to the credits and blah, blah, blah. And then we fade to black and we hear the sound of like a blowing wind. And we see the sound of sort of someone like kind of crunching through, walking through undergrowth. And as we fade in, what we see is a guy who looks like he's wearing like, the kind of jacket you'd wear if you were hunting, and there's a backpack over this guy's back. What we see as landscape is it looks like, kind of like a boreal forest in northern Canada. It's lots of, what do you call it? It's not so far north that it's all coniferous trees, but I mean, it's looking pretty desolate. And we lost Arlen. And are you still? You're still here. Okay, great.
I'm still in the hangout. It's my internet's just being awful.
Yeah, no problem. Let me hit refresh for boop. I lost Jeff's camera for a moment there as well too. Oh, you're back. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here.
And, what we see is this guy sort of walking along, or his figure walking along. It's modern day. This is not like we saw in the cold open in the first episode. And he's walking along, and the hood is up, so we can't really see who this person is. But he walks, he's it's clear from the dirt and whatnot that's accumulated on his his khakis and on his or not khakis, but his like cargo pants, and his he's got big traveling things on, and we see smoke coming up as well too. This guy walks out, and what we see is what looks like it looks like an oil, to be honest, like an oil rig, and the sky is completely overcast, but the oil rig is it's a camp. There's a couple like prefab trailers. There's some vehicles in there, but it's clear that all is not right with this place. As this figure walks up towards the fence, we see the fence is actually like torn down and knocked down in a couple different places. He walks over, and there's what do you call it? There is a vehicle, like a pickup truck's turned on its side, and there's a big, he kind of looks over. We can't see his face still, but he looks over, and you see in the door side, there's what looks like an enormous handprint that is like torn in on the door. And from the splitting of the metal on the car or the truck's door, it looks like there's even claws on it as well. Kind of looks at it, and then he makes his way over towards the what remains of the trailer. Trailer is smashed away too, and the derrick itself is still in place, but pretty much everything else in here looks like it looks like a mini tornado has hit. Things have smashed down, and as this figure gets to the ruins of the fencing that was around the derrick, he crouches down as if to take it, look more closely at the ground. He picks some stuff up and he's sniffing it, puts it down, and then we see he puts his other hand up and he brings a cigar to his mouth. We see this flash of a match, and he draws on this thing, and we see the head turn back and forth as he's sort of studying things. He cuts over, and we see now from a kind of a bird's eye view looking down, he's standing next to a pretty fucking big footprint. and it looks like it's kind of like a man, but it's about, maybe 3 feet long. And this figure kind of goes down and sniffs at this again. And that's when, we see that there's suddenly some snowflakes that are falling around this figure. And this sort of catches his attention, and he looks back and forth. And as he looks up, he sees that there's snow falling down, and the wind is starting to pick up as well too, and howling around. And snow is starting to come in a lot more too. And looking around, there's a small blizzard that's forming here that is seemingly coming out of nowhere. And you can hear the sound on top of the wind howling. You hear this kind of like from somewhere off in the tempest around this figure. The figure throws his head back, or a hood back, and what we see is this.
Yeah.
He brings his hand into a fist, and we hear ching as 3 razor-sharp claws come out of one hand. And he says to the howling winds, "Well, come on, then. I haven't got all day." And that's where we fade to black. So, let me get out of the game here, guys, and then we will make with our outro. All right, need the game. Okay.
Excuse me.
All right. So, for those listening at home, thanks so much for joining us for episode 2 of the Marvel Superheroes MCU Alpha Flight campaign. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section of the video, and I will endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. What else? As you can also reach me on Twitter at Dungeon Musings as an alternative of reaching me, or you can shoot me an email at dungeonmusings@gmail.com. Also, you'll note that there are links in the description of the video, and those are to something called Heroes Save Villages. That is the charity fundraising campaign that we run on the channel. And this is from now until July 1st. For every $25 that's donated to the campaign, you get entered once into our charity raffle. The raffle is going to be drawn on July 1st. We'll close the entries at noon, and then the actual draw will be later that day, where we will be rolling live on a random encounter table. The grand prize for the charity raffle is a brand new copy of the Platinum Edition of the Waterdeep Dragon Heist box set. This is a $500 US product that is no longer available. It has all this amazing cool stuff that is for use in running the Dragon Heist campaign. It was published by Beetle and Grimm. But in addition to the grand prize, we've got a bunch of lesser prizes, or other prizes, I should say, including a bunch of core rulebooks for games like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, like Delta Green, both books for that, like RuneQuest Glorantha, and like, what else? Fantasy Flight's new Legend of the Five Rings role-playing game. So there's also a bunch of other products that are up for prizes as well. So if you enjoyed the session and you are inclined to kick some money towards the charity campaign, you get an opportunity to win some pretty cool prizes as well. And last but not least, I want to give a big thanks to my players. So Steve is now gone to bed, but thanks to Steve as well too. But Arlen and Jeff, thanks so much for joining me for episode 2 of our Alpha Flight campaign. I had a blast again tonight. I hope you guys did as well.
Oh yeah, it was great fun.
Excellent. So again, for those listening at home, thanks again for joining us. And we'll be back again on Wednesday with a continuation of our Alpha Flight campaign if you are watching this live. So until then, happy gaming.